Chapter 1365. Although Shisheng did not want to be burnt to ashes, he was still burnt to a crisp. When she woke up, it had been a few days since the base had been destroyed. Shisheng got up from the charred ground, took off his robe, which was full of holes, and brushed his black hair. He was devastated. His image was gone. Shisheng looked up at the sky. There was no longer a base in the sky, but there were still many fighter jets and spaceships. The whole world was filled with smoke. She was now in a charred forest. This place seemed to be outside the border of the city. Shisheng tried to save her image. She could not change her hair back. She could only cut off the charred parts and tie them up like a rabbit's tail. Shisheng walked towards the border of the city. The border was under martial law. Countless armed soldiers were watching the inside with solemn expressions. Shisheng took advantage of the time when the patrolling soldiers were changing shifts to enter the city. There was also a forest inside. Shisheng went through the forest. She had to find that idiot Mu Bai. Just as she was about to leave the forest, she bumped into a group of people. Although they were in a sorry state, they had guns. The people standing in front saw that Shisheng was a woman and a human. They could not help but mutter, "What's going on? Why is there a woman? Forget it. Let's kill her first. If she's a mutant, we'll be in trouble." That's true. Everyone agreed. Mutants could transform into human form. If she was a mutant, they would be dead. Wait a minute. Brother Liu. A bald man walked out of the group and looked at Shisheng in disbelief. Miss Jiang? Shisheng, who had not reacted, raised his eyebrows slightly. Lu Shu. Lu Shu quickly waved his hand. He's on our side. Put down your guns. The others looked at each other and shook their heads. They did not know her. However, one of Lu Shu's underlings recognized her. He followed Lu Shu to Shisheng. Miss Jiang, why are you here? Miss Jiang, are you also thinking of a way to escape the border? Lu Shu pulled his underlings away. He had to thank her for the gold bars. Otherwise he would not be here now. You want to go out? Lu Shu nodded. It's a mess. I don't know what happened to the xenogeneic base, but it suddenly fell. Now there are xenogeneics everywhere. Rather than fighting them, we might as well find a way out. Why should the people outside be free and unfettered? Their freedom was something they had exchanged with their lives. On what basis? Their lives were precious, but their lives were cheap. Did they deserve to be fed to the xenogeneics? Lu Shu wanted to take a gamble. The edge of the city would definitely be chaotic. She knew that when she destroyed the base. How could the mutants not be angry when their base was destroyed? Miss Jiang, why don't you come with us? Lu Shu had an idea. With Shisheng around, they had a better chance of escaping. Of course, most of them sincerely wanted Shisheng to go out with them. If they returned now, they would be sending themselves to their deaths. It wasn't easy for them to get here. I have to go back and find someone. Looking for someone? Lu Shu scratched his bald head and advised. Miss Jiang, forgive me for being blunt, but it's very difficult to survive in such an environment. Moreover, everything is a mess right now. You might not be able to find it. He won't die so easily. Shisheng walked forward. His voice traveled to their ears. If you want to leave, do it as soon as possible. It'll be impossible to leave once the border sends troops. There weren't many soldiers guarding the border at the moment. They could still get out if they tried. But if they waited a little longer, the reinforcements from various countries would arrive. Unless the mutants attacked, no one would be able to leave. Shisheng walked for a while and realized that Lu Shu had followed him with a few people. He paused and tilted his head to look at them. Lu Shu ran closer and flashed his white teeth. Miss Jiang, I'll go back with you. Go back and die. Shisheng didn't hold back at all. I don't have time to bring you burdens. Everyone. Although they knew they were burdens, it was still hard for them to be called out so mercilessly. All right, this person's words were never pleasant to hear. I think it's safer to follow you. Underling A raised his hand weakly. The underlings behind him nodded. They had seen how powerful she was. Why wouldn't they hug such a powerful golden thigh? Shisheng turned his head and continued walking forward. Up to you. You'll be responsible if you die. When Lu Shu and the others left, the base collapsed. They didn't expect the border of the city to become a living hell in just a few days. Corpses of mutants and humans were everywhere. Of course, there were more human corpses. After all, only a few people could kill mutants. When the base collapsed, it was such a satisfying scene. But looking at this scene now, Lu Shu felt a little disgusted. There were corpses everywhere in the ruins. The stench was disgusting. Shisheng calmly walked past the corpses. The road to success is paved with blood and corpses. It's either someone else's or your own. To let others bleed or to let herself bleed. Of course, she would choose to let others bleed without hesitation. Lu Shu scratched his head. Some people don't. Shisheng glanced at him coldly. This is a war, not an era of peace. Lu Shu met Shisheng's gaze and smiled bitterly. Yes, we weren't born in an era of peace. This was an unavoidable sacrifice. Even in an era of peace, there's no road to success without sacrifice. It's just that the sacrifice isn't your life. Shisheng paused for a moment before the corner of her lips lifted slightly. And sometimes sacrificing one's life is more satisfying. The underlings saw that the atmosphere was a little tense and changed the topic. Speaking of which, Ji Xiao and Yin Duo who destroyed the base are really powerful. They might be able to destroy the mutants. Then, we won't have to be oppressed by the mutants anymore. Dream on. The mutants are so powerful. How can they be destroyed so easily? They can even destroy the base. They're a big monster. Even if they can't destroy the mutants, it's not impossible to drive them away. Shisheng looked at the underling who spoke first. What did you just say? The underling was a little nervous when Shisheng suddenly looked at him. It's not impossible to drive them away? The previous sentence. They can even destroy the base. The previous sentence. The underling recalled what he had just said and repeated it carefully. Speaking of which, Ji Xiao and Yin Duo who destroyed the base are really powerful. They might be able to destroy the mutants. Then, we won't have to be oppressed by the mutants anymore. Asterisk, the above words didn't represent the author's worldview. They were purely Shisheng's personal views. That was the kind of person she was, so there was nothing wrong with her saying such things. It couldn't be denied that the characters had some of the author's worldviews, but they didn't completely represent the author's worldviews. Therefore, please don't use the characters' worldviews to set the author's worldviews. I hope the readers can be more rational. This is just a novel and doesn't exist in reality. It's fine as long as you feel good in the fantasy. Distinguish what is reality and what is virtual. Chapter 1366. Ji Xiao and Yin Duo destroyed the base? That's awesome. Where did this news come from? That's what people are saying. This was the news they had heard the most along the way. Miss Jiang, do you know something? Lu Shu came over with a face full of gossip. Tell us. No matter what they were discussing before, she didn't react. She was suddenly interested in this matter. There was definitely something wrong. Do you think they can destroy the base? I'm not sure if they have any capable people. Lu Shu hesitated. They were just ordinary people. How could they know if the people in power had any trump cards? Didn't they say that everything depended on effort? Maybe they had such great ability. In those movies, weren't there also people who had nothing, but in the end they became the saviors of the world? Shisheng didn't speak and walked forward silently. Lu Shu and the lackeys were speechless. What was going on? The closer they walked to the edge of the city, the more rumors they heard about Ji Xiao and Yin Duo destroying the base. Some people even began to become their fans, hoping that they could destroy the mutants and save them from the disaster. Shisheng had been very calm, as if he didn't care that his merit had been stolen. Even the system was a little curious. Host, you're not angry. This didn't match the host's character setting. If it was in the past, she would have run over and killed the main character in minutes. I'm very angry. How could she not be angry that they dared to steal her merit? Nonsense, why didn't I see it? You've learned to be reserved now? I'm like this when I'm the angriest. Nonsense, do you really think I didn't notice anything after so long? The host wasn't angry at all. She was obviously thinking of something bad. Buttface, you're talking a lot today. Do you really want me to kill the male and female leads for you to be happy? No, I didn't say anything. Really, host, it's best that you're not angry. The system quickly went offline to calm down. Miss Jiang, there are many mutants ahead. Lackey ran back from the front. There are many people. I saw someone who can control the surrounding soil. Control soil? What's going on? I don't know. It's like magic. The Earth can build a wall to block the Xenogeneics attacks. It can even kill Xenogeneics. It's very powerful. Let's go and have a look. Lu Shu's eyes lit up. Lu Shu ran 2 steps and then stopped, waiting for the slow Shisheng behind her. There were Xenogeneics in front of him, so he didn't dare approach them. They had met many Xenogeneics along the way. The Shisheng either directly blew them up or cut them down. In any case, they had killed their way here. The group of lackeys behind her were frightened, but they were even more certain that they could survive if they followed her. By the time Shisheng reached the battlefield at a snail's pace, the mutants had already killed most of the humans. Only 2 superpowered people were still resisting. Shisheng remembered that one of the superpowered people was the girl who used to hang out with the male and female protagonists. Her name was Xiang Kuei. The one who could control Earth was about to die. Xiang Kuei tried to protect him, and was hit by the Xenogeneic. She turned around and protected the superpowered person under her. The Xenogeneic that wanted to attack her was suddenly squeezed by something. 2 seconds later, its head exploded with a bang. Xiang Kuei's superpower was air control. Last time, she couldn't control the head of a Xenogeneic that could explode air. It seemed that she had been practicing well recently. Xiang Kuei had to protect the other superpowered person. There were so many Xenogeneics behind her, so she was definitely going to die. Brother Lu, should we help her? Help what? Why don't you help her? Lu Shu glared at his lackey. He now knew his position. They were all relying on Shisheng to survive. They were not qualified to help others. No, Brother Lu. I'm just curious about his superpower. You didn't see it just now. It's very powerful. If they had that superpower, killing Xenogeneics wouldn't be so difficult. Lu Shu looked at Shisheng. The latter was eating sunflower seeds calmly. He had no intention of helping at all. There were 2 ways to get her to help. First, the Xenogeneics wanted to die. Second, she wanted to kill the Xenogeneics. Right now, the Xenogeneics didn't want to die, and she didn't look like she had lost her mind. Lu Shu had a rough idea of Shisheng's personality, but he didn't dare to say anything. He didn't want to be killed by Shisheng before the Xenogeneics did. Xiang Kuei couldn't hold on for long. Her superpower was about to run out. She gritted her teeth and pulled the man up from the ground. She used her superpower to kill the Xenogeneics that approached them. She dragged the man to the ruins on the side. It was a slope. Shisheng and the others were standing on the slope. Xiang Kuei could see them as they moved. Shisheng had left a deep impression on her. How could she forget him? Therefore, even when she saw Shisheng, Xiang Kuei didn't come over. She wouldn't attack. Xiang Kuei dragged the man into the ruins. The entrance was a little narrow. The Xenogeneics couldn't all squeeze in at once. Therefore, some of them looked at Shisheng. The Xenogeneics that could walk around freely in the base all had a bit of status, and were of relatively high status. Right now, these Xenogeneics belonged to the ranks of low-level thugs. They had never seen Shisheng before so naturally. They looked at her like she was food. Ah, they're coming. The strange-looking Xenogeneics rushed up the slope. Shisheng didn't even bat an eyelid. He swung his iron sword, and the Xenogeneics below fell in droves. From swinging the sword to sheathing it, and then to walking down the slope, his movements were smooth and fluid. There was no pause. Lu Shu and the others were stunned. Although this wasn't the first time they had seen him fight, it was still very cool every time they saw him fight. He was like a hero who could clear the world with a wave of his hand. Shisheng walked to the place where Xiang Kuei had entered. There was a sharp roar coming from inside. Xiang Kuei came out with a dozen Xenogeneics. Shisheng was standing very close to her. If she didn't attack, the Xenogeneics would definitely attack her. However, Xiang Kuei did not expect that she would attack as well. The sharp pressure swept over, causing Xiang Kuei's heart to beat rapidly. Her mind went blank, and her body instinctively rolled to the ground to avoid the sharp sword chi. Although the sword air didn't hit her, She was still grazed. Her calves and arms were covered in wounds. She couldn't see the attack at all, but it was so powerful. She couldn't imagine what would happen if she was in the middle of it all. Xiang Kuei got up from the ground with her face covered in dust. The girl had already walked away, dragging her sword. The Xenogeniacs in the distance were very aggressive. They were in stark contrast to the girl's slender body, walking the world alone with a sword, conquering the world with a knife. Asterisk, walking the world alone with a sword, conquering the world with a knife. Chapter 1367. Not long after Xiang Kuei left the Shisheng, he met Ji Xiu's team including Cloud. Xiang Kuei didn't like Cloud, so Cloud didn't ask for a snub. She bandaged another paranormal's wound while the other team members helped Xiang Kuei. Ji Xiu stood aside and looked at the mutant corpses on the ground. Xiang Kuei, who killed these mutants? As the captain, he naturally knew what kind of ability Xiang Kuei had. Xiang Kuei's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He gritted his teeth and finished applying medicine. Then he sighed. Jiang Tan. Cloud's hand trembled, and she almost spilled the medicine. She looked at Xiang Kuei. Jiang Tan, it was her again. Ji Xiu frowned. Where did she go? He hadn't seen her in the base, but he knew what she had done there. She dared to be so arrogant in the mutants' territory. And those mutants couldn't do anything to her. She must be very powerful. After coming back alive from the base, he also knew something. For example, where their abilities came from. For example, Jiang Tan. Song Yuanqing asked him to confirm whether Jiang Tan was still alive. If she was, he must find a way to kill her. Otherwise, the paranormals would be in danger. Xiang Kuei pointed in a direction. She took a few ordinary people there. Ordinary people? Are you sure? Xiang Kuei nodded. Ordinary people. They didn't do anything. Jiang Tan was the only one who did it. Paranormals could more or less sense each other. Those people were all ordinary people. Ji Xiu told the other team members, you send them back first. Cloud immediately stood up. What about you? Ji Xiu patted Cloud's hand. I'll go and have a look. Jiang Tan is dangerous. Don't go. Cloud felt uneasy. That woman was cold-blooded and ruthless. She didn't know Jiang Tan. She didn't want anything to happen to Ji Xiu. Ji Xiu comforted Cloud. It's okay. I'll go and have a look. I won't fight with her. Cloud couldn't change Ji Xiu's decision. She watched Ji Xiu leave. When their team was about to set off, they found that Cloud was gone. Don't tell me Cloud went after Captain? If something happens to her, how can we explain it to the captain? Should we go and look for her? Quick, she's alone. Nothing must happen to her. Xiang Kuei leaned against the car and snorted. If she wants to die, then let her. Why do you care so much? Besides, wasn't she that powerful? What are you worried about? Xiang Kuei, if Yunduo hadn't insisted on coming back to find you today, we wouldn't have come back. Don't be so ungrateful. That's right. If you hadn't disobeyed our orders, we wouldn't have lost 2 brothers. Everyone suddenly pointed their heads at Xiang Kuei. Now that Ji Xiu and Yunduo were the heroes of the people, they naturally had to protect them. Xiang Kuei's eyes turned even colder. She crawled over to the unconscious man and held him in her arms, not saying a word. They discussed for a while, and finally decided to chase after the cloud. Heavy rain poured down, washing away the world that was riddled with holes, as if it could wash away all the filth. In the past, there was a base that blocked the rain from above. All the water was sent down from the base. If they wanted to see the rain, they had to go to the border. Some people have never seen rain in their entire lives. But right now they weren't happy at all. The Xenogeniacs were using the rain as cover, and that made them even harder to deal with. Miss Jiang, when will this rain stop? Lu Shu and his lackeys squatted in front of a building. At first, they were quite excited. After all, they had never seen rain before. But the rain didn't stop, and that was a little annoying. Shisheng leaned against a pillar inside and said angrily, How would I know? I'm not a weather forecaster. What's a weather forecaster? Lackey asked curiously. Shisheng. He was a modern person. How did he become useless after being raised by the Xenogeniacs? It was all the xenogeniac's fault. An unqualified breeder. Miss Jiang, who are you looking for? Lu Shu walked over from his lackeys. They had been walking for so long, but she hadn't seen anyone. She just walked over aimlessly. I don't know. How would she know what Mu Bai was? Lu Shu. If she didn't know, then what were they looking for? Miss Jiang, that's not how you play people. Shisheng added. I can only confirm his location, but I don't know what he is. Lu Shu heaved a sigh of relief. Then where is he? About. Shisheng thought for a while. About 20 miles away. Lu Shu. No matter how he looked at it, he felt like she was talking nonsense. Was he the only one who felt this way? Lu Shu looked at his lackeys and saw the same feeling in their eyes. It really wasn't his imagination. The rain continued for 3 days before it stopped. Once it stopped, Shisheng went on the road. Perhaps it was because of the rain, but the corpses on the road were gray. A terrible smell floated in the air. Shisheng didn't even get off the ground. He sat on the sword and floated forward. Lu Shu and the others who were lucky enough to sit on the iron sword were very excited. They harassed the iron sword for a while, and the iron sword almost threw them off. In the end, they stopped when Shisheng told them not to touch it. When they finally reached their destination, a large group of xenogeniacs suddenly appeared and occupied the space behind them. Not only on the ground, but also in the sky. It looked like they were waiting for her. And they were indeed waiting for her. King was carried out by 2 xenogeniacs. He still looked fat and white, but the gloominess on his face made people feel uncomfortable. Miss Jiang Tan, we have been waiting for you for a long time. Shisheng didn't want to talk to him. Tell Mu Bai to come out. Mu Bai. King was confused. Who was this? He didn't care who he was. He had to talk about his business. Miss Jiang Tan, you destroyed my base. Shouldn't you give me an explanation? Why do you think I went up there? Was I really going to be your guest? Idiot. King's face changed. Miss Jiang Tan, I don't care how you destroyed the base. You are surrounded by so many elites of my race. Do you think you can escape? Shisheng's face was full of arrogance. Even if you bring the whole race, I won't be afraid of you. Is that so? The emperor suddenly became confident. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. What did that idiot Mu Bai give him? The target is about 500 meters away. A childish voice sounded in Shisheng's ears. She looked at the xenogeniacs behind her. The target is about 400 meters away. The target is about 300 meters away. There were too many xenogeniacs, and most of them were very tall. If there was a small person moving among them, she wouldn't be able to see it. At this moment, the xenogeniacs quickly surrounded Shisheng. Lu Shu and the others stood back to back. It was the first time they were surrounded by so many xenogeniacs. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. Chapter 1368. The explosion was so sudden that Shisheng didn't even have time to react. Countless mutants rushed toward Shisheng and self-destructed. To be honest, there was no way this was going to work. What did you mean by self-destructing when you couldn't win? Could you be any more shameless? Why did you bring such a huge team of cannon fodder with you? Target is approaching 100 meters and has reached the sealing range. Do you want to activate the sealing range? Shisheng waved his hand to disperse the mutants and immediately ordered, seal. Seal successful. With Shisheng as the center, the ground was covered by a different scenery. It flashed past like light and shadow. The surrounding mutants and buildings disappeared, leaving only a gray void. Shisheng stood in the void and a handsome man stood opposite her. Who else could it be but AI Loss? Of course he wasn't AI Loss. He was Mu Bai. Mu Bai raised his eyebrows and seemed a little surprised. When did you start planning this? Shisheng's expression was calm. When I killed you. Mu Bai thought back. She had only killed him once, but that time, she had caused him a lot of damage. Mu Bai gritted his teeth. Despicable. Shisheng sneered. You're the same. Now you only have one choice. Either you tell me everything, or you stay here forever. Mu Bai tried hard to maintain the smile on his face. Do you think I've used up all my trump cards? He wanted to strangle her. Strangle her. Strangle her. Shisheng smiled sinisterly. Do you think I still have some trump cards? Mu Bai. Of course she had some. And she had a lot of them. You don't want me to catch you because you're afraid that I'll trap you. You know the consequences of being caught by me. Since you know everything, let's cut the crap. Tell me what you know and I'll let you live. Mu Bai obviously didn't believe him. You'll let me live? I'll let you live here. You'll still kill me when you get out, right? She wasn't that easy to talk to. Very smart. Mu Bai chuckled. What if I don't tell you? Shisheng rolled up his sleeves and raised his sword. Come at me then. Whoever wins gets to speak. Mu Bai stared at her for a while and slowly drew out a sword. Shisheng remembered that sword. It was the sword he had used when he first appeared. The blade of the sword was blood red, and spiral-shaped runes circled around it. Those runes, Shisheng's eyes widened, and he suddenly exploded. How dare you say that you have nothing to do with the Mu family? F***ck this liar. Mu Bai is my real name. Don't tell me you don't have any information about the Mu family. Have you ever heard of my name? Shisheng frowned. After a while he said, Mu Lantian had a young master who was stripped of his name and banished to a desolate star. Was it you? How did you know about something that happened so long ago? Mu Bai was slightly surprised. At that time, you were still underage, right? Shisheng's lips curled into a cold smile. I don't want to know about the dirty affairs of the Mu family. However, you can only survive if you know the situation and plan accordingly. Mu Bai smiled and nodded. Yes, you're right. I was the one who was banished. So to be precise, I have nothing to do with the Mu family. After all, I've already cut off all ties with the Mu family. According to the information, the young master was smart, but he had no spiritual power. He was a complete loser. Later on, something happened and he even lost his intelligence. I don't know if the information is fake, or if you hid it too well. Mu Bai explained patiently. When I was banished, it was exactly as the information said. But something happened later on. Shisheng's tone suddenly changed. What grudge do I have against you? She was very sure that she had no grudge against Mu Bai. She didn't have any deep grudge against the Mu family. No grudge. Shisheng's eyes narrowed. So why are you targeting me? Mu Bai stared at her. I want to live. Shisheng was silent for a few seconds. Then he smiled. I understand. Mu Bai waved his sword and showed a look of appreciation. I like your intelligence. He didn't need to expose himself to the sun. Shisheng's voice was calm and steady. Then the question is, who is the person behind you? Mu Bai was helpless. Obviously, I won't tell you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to do anything. I would be the one dead. And I don't want to die. In the past, he had committed suicide so quickly because he was afraid that she would catch him and end up like this. Mu Bai's heart sank. It would be difficult to get out today. Unless, but then again, he hadn't even completed a single mission. He probably wouldn't get out. Mu Bai waved his sword. Shisheng, if we didn't meet here, we might have become friends. Shisheng looked at Mu Bai. You're thinking too much. I don't want to be friends with scheming cheese. Mu Bai, can't you let me talk properly? You don't even follow the script at a time like this. Swoosh. The iron sword suddenly slashed at him. Mu Bai was so frightened that he quickly retreated. F***ck, Shisheng. Why don't you tell me before you attack? Oh, I forgot. Shisheng said half-heartedly. I'm going to attack now. The iron sword slashed past his ear as he finished his sentence. A gust of cold air instantly spread through his body. When the iron sword turned around, Mu Bai came back to his senses and blocked the iron sword with his blood sword. The two swords collided, creating dazzling sparks. The runes around the blood sword kept increasing. They even wrapped around the iron sword. Shisheng immediately withdrew his sword and kicked at Mu Bai. Mu Bai did a side flip and avoided Shisheng's shadowless kick. He muttered a few strange incantations. The blood sword suddenly split into two swords, then a third. You actually learned the Thousand Mountain Phantom. The Mu family specialized in curses. The Thousand Mountain Phantom was the Mu family's signature technique. This technique could split anything that wasn't alive. Its power and quality would be exactly the same as the original. Think about it. You have a battleship, But your opponent can split into 2, 3, or even more. How are you going to fight? The stronger you are, the more you can split. The only downside was that there was a time limit, so this technique was suitable for a quick battle. No matter what technique it was, there were different restrictions and costs. One was positive and the other was negative. This was the law of the world. This technique was very powerful, but very few people in the Mu family could learn it. Firstly, it was because of their talent. Secondly, normal Mu family members couldn't learn it. Mu Bai stretched out his hand. 4 identical swords floated around him. He smiled. I learned it secretly. It can't be compared to the Mu family's authentic Thousand Mountain Phantom. Mu Bai didn't want to waste any time. He quickly directed the blood sword to attack Shisheng. Shisheng only dodged and didn't attack. There was only one way to break the Thousand Mountain Phantom, and that was to kill the caster. She tried to get closer to Mu Bai, but the swords blocked her way. Shisheng retreated a bit. The iron sword quickly moved in the air. The flowers on the tip of the sword gathered into a square. Countless flowers started to grow in the square. Shisheng pulled out the iron sword and stabbed it into the center. The flowers inside spun wildly and rushed towards Mu Bai. Mu Bai's expression changed. He recalled the 4 swords and placed them in front of him. Chapter 1369. Every flower was like a sharp weapon that could take a person's life at any time. They hit the sword in front of him, making crackling sounds. Red light danced in front of him. Although the strength and quality of the split sword were the same as the original, it was still split. As time passed, its power would slowly weaken. She didn't want to be attacked, so she used her ultimate move directly. He had no choice but to defend himself. Ah, this despicable woman, he wanted to kill her. Mu Bai. A ghostly voice sounded behind him. Mu Bai was shocked. Only then did he remember that she was the ruler of this place. Mu Bai gave up resisting and kept the blood sword in front of him. Countless flowers hit him in the face. They were cold, but they didn't have any attack power. After the flowers scattered, Mu Bai looked at the person standing behind him. He took a deep breath and smiled. He said elegantly, "The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. I lost." Even if he lost, he had to maintain a smile and maintain his elegance. Shisheng tilted his head and sent the iron sword into Mu Bai's body without hesitation. Abnormal intrusion detected. Master, be careful. A child's voice sounded at the same time. The darkness above was suddenly broken. Countless rays of light gathered, and the surrounding scenery returned to the ruins. The sound of the mutants exploding was heard. Shisheng looked at Mu Bai. He had already lost his life. Shisheng dragged Lu Shu and the others behind him, and threw them onto the iron sword. He quickly rose into the air, and threw a few energy balls down to make them explode more happily. Shisheng stared at the disgust below. The result? I'm sorry, Master. Shisheng was going crazy. Even Mu Bai had people helping him. Why didn't she? Why? Master, I don't think it's a human. What do you mean? No one can be faster than me. The seal was broken. Mu Bai's spiritual power could leave this world. There are many powerful people in this world. You just haven't met one yet. Master, you're right. I will try my best to find that thing. The Emperor of the Mutants was blown up. The original owner's revenge was completed. Now only Yin Duo was left. Very good. Team up to kill the female lead. Host, tell me, where is your team? At this moment, Yin Duo and the others were trapped in a building. Because of the heavy rain, Ji Xiu could not catch up with Shisheng, but the clouds caught up with Ji Xiu. The two were trapped together in the heavy rain, and their feelings for each other rose rapidly. When the rain stopped, Xiang Kuei and the others arrived. They had brought a group of xenogeniacs with them. Therefore, they were now trapped in the building. At the same time, there was another group of people trapped here. There were also superpowered people in this group, but they didn't look at the protagonist's team very kindly. What's wrong with those metahumans? Why haven't I seen him at the headquarters? The person sitting next to Xiang Kuei whispered to her. Xiang Kuei glanced over and said sarcastically, "That man is an ability user with an unstable ability. We almost killed him." The man that Xiang Kuei mentioned was test subject 22. At this time, experimental subject 22 was obviously not as delirious as before. On the contrary, his ability was still very strong. He was the leader of that team. What's going on? Where did these metahumans come from? The man was puzzled. All the metahumans were recorded at the headquarters. However, he didn't know any of the metahumans in that team. Xiang Kuei began to be sarcastic again. Who knows what the people up there are doing? Where did our abilities come from? What did they inject us with? Have you thought about this? Anyway, I have a bad feeling about these abilities. Huh. The man was confused. He really hadn't thought about this. Just as Xiang Kuei and the man were talking, a quarrel broke out. Test Subject 22's team was very unfriendly. You can blow up the base. Can't you deal with the xenogeneics outside? Ji Xiu's face was a little ugly. That's our business. What does it have to do with you? Seeing that Ji Xiu didn't answer, Yunduo stepped forward and said to the person who spoke, "If you want to get out, find a way. Don't drag us in." "Ha, I know that Miss Jiang Tan went up with you. You came down, but where is Miss Jiang Tan?" Test Subject 22's eyes were sharp. He didn't believe that these two people could blow up the base. If it was Miss Jiang Tan, then there would be some credibility. At the mention of Jiang Tan, Yunduo's face changed. A trace of panic flashed across her eyes. She gritted her teeth. "How would we know where she went? Then whether or not you blew up the base remains to be seen." Test Subject 22 sneered. "Those people outside may believe it, but I don't." Yunduo clenched her hands. They really didn't blow up the base. However, after they came back, Song Yuanqing didn't even ask for her and Ji Xiu's opinion before announcing the matter. By the time they found out, it was already too late. This incident had indeed united those people a little. They had almost become their religion. The xenogeneics are attacking. Test Subject 22's team suddenly shouted. A few xenogeneics broke the iron door in the building and squeezed in from outside the shabby door. Their huge bodies made the space a lot smaller. The xenogeneics growled and attacked the humans with bared fangs and claws. "Run!" Test Subject 22 yelled. He broke the window next to him and ordered the others to jump out. Their motto was to run if they could and not waste their powers. So while Ji Xiu and the others were dealing with the xenogeneics, Test Subject 22 had already run with the others. The xenogeneics were all over the room. Ji Xiu and the others couldn't run even if they wanted to, so they could only fight. Recently, Xiang Kuei's powers were getting better and better. She could squeeze the air and blow up the xenogeneics' heads. The man next to her used the soil to create thorns to prevent the xenogeneics from getting close. The two of them cooperated quite well. Ji Xiu's power was related to lightning. It was an area of effect skill. Yunduo's skill could slow down time and slow down the xenogeneics' movements. It was also an area of effect skill. The two of them worked together and quickly cleared out an area. The others quickly gathered around them and formed a circle. "Rush out from there." Ji Xiu pointed at the window that Test Subject 22 had broken. No one objected. There were so many xenogeneics. Once their powers were used up, it would be difficult for them to escape. Ji Xiu and Yunduo worked together to create a path to the window. They let the others go first while they covered the rear. "Captain, we can't. There are xenogeneics down there." "Where are those people?" Ji Xiu frowned. "They're trapped down there." Test Subject 22 and the others were surrounded by xenogeneics. Below them were xenogeneics. Just looking at them made one's scalp tingle. #hashtag looking for red plumery flavored votes today # today is Monday. We're counting on you guys to get on the list. Double monthly votes. Little cuties vote. Double monthly votes. Little cuties vote. Double monthly votes. Little cuties vote. Chapter 1370. When Shisheng met this group of people, the mutants had already killed several of them. Experimental Subject 22 was also covered with wounds and could barely hold on. Then he saw Shisheng falling from the sky. When the mutants saw her, it was as if they had seen a ghost. They gave up their food and scattered quickly. During this time, all the mutants she had met were in the same way. Shisheng came to the conclusion that their emperor had died in front of her. Maybe the Emperor had given these mutants some orders before he died. Mutants were a magical race. After all, they could directly communicate with each other through brainwaves, which was mental strength. Experimental subject 22 staggered over. He didn't know why his blood was boiling, but his voice was trembling. Miss Jiangtan. When experimental subject 22 came closer, Shisheng could feel a faint connection. It wasn't just experimental subject 22. There were several connections. You've been waiting for a long time. What was going on? Could she still control these mutants? Then she wanted them to die. Experimental subject 22 suddenly knelt down. Everyone, including the mutants behind him, looked painful, as if they were suffering from some kind of torture. Shisheng. She was just thinking about it. Could she really kill them just because she thought about it? It seemed that the flag the host had set was about to be realized. See, but face, I told you to have hope. Who knows when it will be realized? Shisheng showed off to the system. Hee, you can't control everyone in the world. I really want to slap the host to death. Shisheng stopped thinking about it. The mutants relaxed, but their limbs didn't have any strength. At that moment, it seemed that something had stirred in their flesh and bone marrow. That kind of pain was even worse than when their powers went out of control. Shisheng touched his chin and pondered. If the powers of these mutants all came from the host, but why did the host have such powers? Was it really the result of the combination of drugs and the host? Host, do you want to do the side task? No. I don't want to follow the plot. Let me act tough in peace. Forget it. The system was already in despair. Since it was already like this, then so be it. Miss Jiangtan, what happened just now? Test subject number 22 recovered and looked at Shisheng in confusion. Shisheng smiled enigmatically. Perhaps I suddenly grasped the skill to control your life and death. Everyone. Although he felt that this line was a little chinibu, the feeling he got just now was right. They felt that their lives were in someone else's hands, and they could not control themselves at all. While everyone was still in a daze, Ji Xiu and the others jumped out of the window. The xenogeniacs that were chasing after them were too shocked to see the Shisheng, and they fell to the ground. The ones behind them couldn't stop in time, and they all fell to the ground. Before anyone could react, the xenogeniacs calmly got up and ran in all directions, disappearing into the ruins. Shisheng. Jiangtan, you really didn't die. Seeing Shisheng with her own eyes, Yundua's heart fluctuated greatly. How could she be so powerful? What did she go through in the lab? If she had gone in, would she be as powerful as she was? Shisheng looked at Yunduo darkly and said maliciously, I won't die even if you die. If the female lead didn't die, she would not die. Yunduo was a little frightened by her gaze, but she forced herself not to be afraid. Do you hate me? Why would I hate you? Shisheng spread her hands. Back then, Yunduo glanced at Ji Xiu, who was staring at Shisheng with a heavy gaze. She took a deep breath. Mom and Dad were the ones who made the decision. I couldn't change anything. And so? Shisheng nodded her head in agreement, as if saying you have a point. It was the female lead's parents who made the decision. It had nothing to do with the female lead, but it had nothing to do with her. The original owner wanted to kill her, so she had no choice but to kill her. Yunduo thought that Shisheng had accepted her explanation, so she continued. If you didn't go in back then, how could you be so powerful now? Shisheng was speechless. The original owner had become someone's test subject after she went in. In the end, she was transformed into a humanoid weapon by the mutants. Moreover, she was not the original owner, so this causal relationship was not valid. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. So now you regret not being the one who went in back then? I should be thanking you now, right? My dear female lead, your way of thinking is very dangerous. Yunduo bit her lip and didn't say anything. She didn't know how to answer at this moment. She knew more about the laboratory than ordinary people. She had sneaked in to take a look before, and the people inside were in great pain. However, after going through that pain, they gained great power. Shisheng secretly wanted to see if she could kill the female lead, but she found that she had no contact with the female lead. Shisheng looked at the ability user behind them. A thought flashed through his mind, and the ability user suddenly threw out a large number of ice blades. The people in front were suddenly attacked, and their own people were unprepared. A few of them were cut by the ice blades, but fortunately, no one died. What are you doing? Xiang Kuei glared at the ability user. Are you crazy? The ability user looked confused. I don't know. I suddenly lost control. What happened? Ji Xiu asked in a low voice. The ability user was even more confused. I don't know either. Someone suddenly gave me an order in my head, and then I acted. What nonsense are you talking about? Who gave you an order? You. Xiang Kuei was so angry that she started yelling at the ability user. Ji Xiu's gaze fell on Shisheng, and it was dark and deep. Had she already mastered it? He knew from Song Yuanqing that all their abilities came from her. During the ultimate experiment, an experimenter found that she was different, so she was locked up alone. Later, research showed that she was indeed different. She had a very special ability. After that, Richie took over her and conducted all kinds of experiments on her, until he figured out how to obtain her ability. The drug that the Esper injected to activate their Esper's Esper actually contained her blood. The ability user's ability came from her. Therefore, Richie found that she could establish a connection with the ability user, and even control them. Ji Xiu's mind was spinning. Song Yuanqing said that if he couldn't catch her, he had to kill her no matter the cost. If she wanted revenge, all the ability users would be under her control. But could he kill her? Shisheng, who had secretly finished his work, rubbed his chin and pondered. Ordinary ability users were fine, but the female and male leads were not. He didn't know if he should curse them. Curse the plot's 18 generations of ancestors. Where's I's sword? Shisheng suddenly drew his sword and slashed at Yin Duo and Ji Xiu. The ability users around them wanted to help, but their bodies couldn't help but retreat. Chapter 1371. Ji Xiu and Yin Duo were caught off guard by Shisheng's sudden attack. Fortunately, the two of them had been through a lot, so they quickly calmed down and joined forces to deal with Shisheng. Shisheng wanted to kill them, but Yin Duo and Ji Xiu also had different reasons to want to kill her. Shisheng hadn't used his supernatural ability from the beginning to the end, only the Iron Sword. However, their supernatural abilities didn't have much effect on her. Even if she couldn't control the male and female protagonists, the supernatural ability came from her. She could be considered their ancestor. Attacking an ancestor was akin to betraying one's ancestor. She would be struck by lightning. Yin Duo dodged the Iron Sword awkwardly and shouted at her righteously. Jiang Tan, do you still want to fight with us at this time? We should unite to deal with the mutants and drive them out of our territory. Shisheng replied to her with 5 words. What does it have to do with me? Ji Xiu echoed Yin Duo. How is it none of your business? Don't forget that you're a human. Shisheng smiled with curved eyebrows and eyes. That's hard to say. The original owner was an orphan, but she didn't have any memories before she was brought back by Yin Duo's parents. Where did her supernatural ability come from? Side task, Darkness Invasion. Accepted by default. Shisheng. Flips table. What happened to letting me do whatever I want? How could you accept it by default? I forgot that I have this right. The system was a little smug. Since it lost its autonomy, it had been oppressed by the host. When it regained its autonomy, it had forgotten that it had this right. But now it remembered. The system continued to explain. You can't blame me. You were thinking too much and triggered the keyword. Shisheng. Is there something wrong with your imagination? You can send it. I don't want to do it. Bite me. I'm not a dog. Don't think that I can bite just because I'm called Buttface. Bah, I'm not called Buttface. While Shisheng and Buttface were talking nonsense, the male and female protagonists had already formed a team. Shisheng cursed and rushed over with his sword again. The two of them still had their halos. Even if they couldn't kill them, they should at least give them a good beating. Shisheng restrained his murderous aura, which made it easier for him to deal with the male and female protagonists. The onlookers outside were all dumbfounded. Even Ji Xiu and Yin Duo couldn't beat her. Xiang Kuei and Test Subject 22, who had witnessed Shisheng's power, were much calmer. She had been killing xenogeniacs in batches, Not one person. Phew. Shisheng pouted and blew away the hair that was blocking his eyes. He reluctantly left the battlefield with his sword in hand. Ji Xiao and Yun Duo were lying on the ground. They felt tired just by moving their fingers. Shisheng walked out, looked around and asked, "Who else wants to hit them?" "Everyone. Are you not satisfied with your own beating, and now you're urging others to beat him? How despicable." No one moved from Ji Xiao's side, but someone from test subject 22's side moved. She couldn't stand these people being praised by a group of ignorant people. They really thought they were the saviors of the world. Ji Xiao's people were afraid of being beaten, so they didn't dare to say anything. Even if they wanted to move, they couldn't. They didn't have control over their bodies. They didn't believe what the psychic said, but they had to believe it after experiencing it for themselves. "Jiang Tan, are you not human?" Xiang Kuei was bold. She opened her eyes wide and asked directly without hiding anything. Shisheng immediately retorted, "You're the one who's not human." Xiang Kuei didn't back down at all. She straightened her neck and said, "You said it yourself." "Did I say I'm not human?" She only said that it was hard to say. She didn't say she wasn't human. "You're not human at all. You're insulting me." Xiang Kuei choked. She rolled her eyes and said quickly, "Then how do you explain the xenogeneics running away when they saw you? Who knows what's going on in their heads? She wasn't a xenogeneic. How could she understand their brain circuits? They wanted to run away, but she didn't want Er Kong to stop them and love her again. Idiot." "Jiang Tan, are you controlling us?" Xiang Kuei asked again. Shisheng smiled brightly this time. "Yes." Out of everyone present, the only person Xiang Kuei suspected was Shisheng. She hadn't expected Shisheng to actually answer her question. But this answer didn't make her feel at ease. She forced herself to calm down. "How did you do it?" Shisheng spread his hands innocently. "Maybe it's because your supernatural abilities came from me." "What? How is that possible?" "Our supernatural abilities were awakened by taking Dr. Ritchie's drug. What does it have to do with you? Don't talk nonsense. How could our supernatural abilities come from you?" Xiang Kuei didn't say anything. She had been thinking about where her supernatural abilities came from. If it was her own ability, why did she take Dr. Ritchie's drug? Many of the people who had injected the drug with them had disappeared. Where did those people go? But she didn't expect her supernatural abilities to come from one person. "It's up to you whether you believe it or not. Anyway, I can control you. If you don't believe it, you'll ask if there's cat biscuits." Everyone. While everyone was digesting this unbelievable news, Ji Xiao and Yun Duo were about to die from the beating. Experimental subject 22 dragged Ji Xiao and Yun Duo out, and threw them in front of Shisheng. He grabbed Ji Xiao's neck and asked word by word, "Did you really blow up the mutant base?" Ji Xiao's face was pale. There were bruises all over his face. He didn't look handsome at all. Shisheng didn't hit his face. It was definitely experimental subject 22 who did it. "I'm asking you a question." Experimental subject 22 slapped Ji Xiao's face again. "Shisheng. This kid will definitely be taught a lesson in the future. How dare he slap the male lead's face?" Ji Xiao gritted his teeth and squeezed out a word from his throat. "Yes." Experimental subject 22 let go of Ji Xiao and waved his hand like a boss. "Beat him up." In the past he had his suspicions, but after seeing how Shisheng suppressed him, he was even more certain that they didn't blow up the mutant base. This bunch of liars. That's enough. Someone couldn't stand it anymore. If it wasn't Captain who blew up the mutant base, who else could it be? Experimental subject 22 looked at the psychic. "I'm not sure who did it, but it definitely couldn't have been them." At that time, only Captain and Yun Duo went up to the base. Other than them. The psychic suddenly paused. He remembered someone saying that Jiang Tan was also there. She was even welcomed by the mutants in a huge formation. How could she still say that she was a human? The psychic's brain circuitry changed and he defined Shisheng as a mutant. Would a mutant blow up their own base? No way. So other than Captain and Yun Duo, who else could have done it? This group of people was up to no good. Asterisk double monthly votes. Little cuties, vote monthly votes. 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 Chapter 1372. Sheng Sheng looked at test subject 22 and handed him a weapon. Try and see if you can stab him to death. Test subject 22 was speechless. Why was she handing him a knife when he was beating someone up? Although test subject 22 was a little confused, he still took the knife and pushed the others away. Stop. Stop it. Do you have any conscience? Let go of Captain. Don't touch Captain. Xiang Kui just looked at them coldly. There was even some anticipation in her eyes. She hated Yin Duo and wanted her dead. However, Ji Xiu always protected her. Even Xiang Kui found Ji Xiu an eyesore. Yin Duo saw test subject 22 approach Ji Xiu with a knife and shouted, "No, it wasn't us. We don't know who bombed the base." Test subject 22 paused. Then why did you tell the public? Yin Duo's eyes were red and swollen. Her words were a little unclear. It wasn't us. It was Executive Officer Song Yuanqing. He said that this would calm the people. Test subject 22 didn't seem to understand. Shisheng crossed his arms in front of his chest and said calmly, "To put it bluntly, he just wants more people to work for him." With a national hero around, the people around Song Yuanqing wouldn't disperse. They would feel that there was hope and Song Yuanqing could still be the emperor for a while. Despicable. Test subject 22 scolded. You guys aren't good people either. You didn't do it, but you still don't deny it. He looked up at the others. You all heard it. Brainless Fan 1 didn't believe him. Bah, you forced Yin Duo to say that. Brainless Fan 2 didn't believe him either. Confess under torture. You want to erase Captain and Yin Duo's achievements? Dream on. Test subject 22 retorted coldly. If they really bombed the base, would they be no match for Miss Jiang Tan? Everyone was speechless. Brainless Fan 1 tried to explain. Our captain used up a lot of his ability just now. If you have the ability, wait for him to recover before you fight. Brainless Fan 2 said, That's right. If you have the ability, let go of our captain. Anyway, the Brainless Fans firmly believed that Ji Xiu was the one who bombed the base. Are you guys done? Hurry up and kill him. Shisheng raised his chin. It was tiring to listen to such a long speech. If they died, everything would be over. What was there to fight about? Experimental subject 22 was very obedient to Shisheng's words. He immediately stopped talking nonsense and stabbed Ji Xiu's neck with the knife. Shisheng narrowed his eyes and watched as the knife left a bloody wound on Ji Xiu's neck. Don't. Yin Duo's eyes widened, but she was being held down by someone. She could only watch helplessly as she screamed hysterically, Stop! At this critical moment, a white light descended from the sky. Everyone was blinded by the white light. Ji Xiu and Yin Duo's corpses were enveloped by the white light. The white light lingered for 3 seconds before retracting upwards. There was no trace of Ji Xiu and Yin Duo on the ground. Shisheng looked up at the sky. There was an oval-shaped spaceship parked in the sky. The white light came from the bottom of the spaceship. Shisheng took a few steps back and waved his iron sword. 2 streams of sword chi soared into the sky. Before the sword chi could even touch the spaceship, it had already disappeared into thin air. It was as silent as when it had first appeared. Space jump? Take control of the humans here. A few words suddenly appeared in Shisheng's mind. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. Was it really not a human? It sounded like an order, but Shisheng ignored it. Perhaps it didn't get a response from her, so the other party repeated it again. Shisheng grew impatient. When the other party came for the 3rd time, he attacked the other party with his spiritual energy and said, I'm busy. If you want to conquer the world, go ahead and do it yourself. Stop telling me what to do. Don't act like you know how to use your spiritual energy. This was a virtual world. Spiritual energy was the key. How could she not be able to deal with an NPC? What a joke. After this, the other party stopped. Miss Jiang Tan, how do we deal with these people? Experimental subject 22 asked Shisheng. Shisheng looked at the other party. Except for Xiang Kuei, everyone else was still looking at the sky with a confused expression. Their captain had disappeared just like that? Do whatever you want. Shisheng waved his hand. Obviously, he didn't want to deal with this mess. Shisheng walked outside. Lu Shu and a few others were waiting in a safe place. When they saw her, they immediately went up to her. Lu Shu shook his bald head. His face was burning with curiosity. Miss Jiangtan, did you see that spaceship just now? Yes. Not only did she see it, but the thing on the spaceship also wanted her to take control of the humans. His brain must be damaged. Lu Shu winked. I've seen that kind of spaceship before. That kind of spaceship had never appeared among the mutants. Shisheng tilted his head. His eyes were cold. Lu Shu was afraid that Shisheng didn't believe him. He nodded vigorously. I've seen it before. It's in some of my dad's photos. Unfortunately, I can't go back to the underground city. Otherwise, I can show you. When were the photos taken? Lu Shu's father ran the underground city. It wasn't strange that he had camera equipment. Lu Shu touched his bald head and thought for a while. I saw it when I was very young. The photos were still very new. It must have been taken not long ago. Because this spaceship is different from the ones I've seen, it left a deep impression on me. Lu Shu was about the same age as her. She was certain that the original owner was a human, so she wouldn't have strange tentacles or wings. So according to the pattern, it could only be, the host was used as a petri dish. Ordinary humans obtained supernatural powers through her. But she could control these superpowered people. She was controlled by something else. It effortlessly built an army of superpowered people and controlled the human world. A group with high intelligence shouldn't be underestimated. Unfortunately, she wasn't Jiang Tan. It was impossible to control her. Miss Jiang Tan, wait. Lu Shu followed behind her. The real spaceship looks completely different from the one in the photos. It's so cool. I wonder when we can have our own spaceship. Shisheng felt that Lu Shu was getting noisier and noisier. He wanted to sew his mouth shut. On the other hand, number 22 followed behind her with several superpowered people. They didn't say anything and were very quiet. Miss Jiang Tan, why are they following us? Lu Shu kept looking behind. Shisheng paused and asked Lu Shu, why are you following me? Number 22's eyes lit up. Miss Jiang Tan, we want to follow you. Number 22 said he wanted to follow her when they met for the first time. It seemed that her pathogen was attractive to the viruses. I don't want to bring any burdens. You can go do whatever you want. Shisheng waved his hand. They. Number 22 pointed at Lu Shu and the others. These people weren't superpowered people. They didn't show up just now and hid far away. They were the burdens, okay? Lu Shu was a little smug after being called out. Miss Jiang Tan is happy to take us. Shisheng didn't want to talk nonsense with them. He took Lu Shu and the others and left on his sword. Recently, a group of people who didn't show up in the ordinary group were cleared. There was a temporary vacancy. Group number 4512444066. Chapter 1373. On the night that the spaceship took the male and female protagonists away, countless spaceships appeared in the sky. All kinds of lights flashed in the sky, and a base was built in front of everyone's eyes. Shisheng found that this base was obviously different from the previous one. It was not as big as the previous one, but the fighter jets and spaceships were obviously more advanced. They were not from the same place. After one died, another one took his place. Wave after wave of them. She really wanted to ask why she was so unlucky as an Earthling to be regarded as food reserves by all kinds of things. The energy supply of the demons, the rations of the magical beasts, the mobile blood bank of the vampires, the teeth-grinding sticks of the zombies, the nutrients of the mutants, the delicious essence of the fairies, the delicious snacks of the ghosts. What did humans eat? Cereals. So all these weird things thought humans were healthy, environmentally friendly, and pollution-free food? This could be a book. Those big bosses who always wanted to eat me, self-cultivation as a grain reserve, confessions from food. Shisheng shuddered and tossed those weird thoughts aside. What the hell is this? Building a high-tech base was done quickly. At least, the appearance was done. Shisheng ate sunflower seeds and looked at the strong light sweeping across the ground. Wherever the strong light swept across, humans would be sucked up. Miss Jiangtan, what is this? Lu Shu and his minions huddled together next to Shisheng. They were afraid that they would be sucked up by the strong light if they stayed too far away. How would I know? Shisheng said grumpily. This scene lasted for a long time. Shisheng estimated that 50% of the people living on the ground had been sucked up to the surface. This scene lasted for a long time until one night, a spaceship stopped above Shisheng's head. The light shone down and enveloped Shisheng. However, the white light did not move for a long time. Since they could not get up, the things on the spaceship had to come down. The person who came down from the spaceship was obviously a human. At least he looked human. He looked at Shisheng and said expressionlessly, 029, the commander wants you back. 029. Code name? Or was there 123, for 567 in front of him? Shisheng beheaded him without a word. The blood that came out of the iron sword was not red, but dark black. There was a rotten smell coming from the corpse, and a strange creature with tentacles crawled out from the corpse's head. Shisheng. The xenogenics before had already affected the city's appearance, and this one was even worse. Could they still play happily? The tentacle monster that crawled out waved its tentacles in the air, and finally stopped in Lu Shu's direction. Hey! Shisheng poked it with his iron sword. Don't try anything funny, or I'll kill you. The tentacle monster waved its tentacles in the air a few times and made a strange sound. Shisheng actually understood. What it said was, nothing good will come out of betraying your superior. Hurry up and report back. Shisheng scratched his head. Did she have such a thing in her head as well? So scary. Host, you're a serious person. The system was afraid that Shisheng's imagination would make it disappear, so it quickly reminded her. Then how can I understand their language? I'll give them to you. It was almost tricked by the host, so it would not tell her. The system went offline immediately. Shisheng. Buttface was not easy to fool. Shisheng looked at the tentacles all over its body and felt a little disgusted, so he quickly stabbed it to death with his sword. As soon as the tentacle monster died, the spaceship in the sky fell down and crashed not far away from them. Was it bound? Lu Shu and the others swallowed hard. The edge of the city, which had been occupied by the xenogenics for hundreds of years, welcomed a new group of invaders. And this group of invaders was not as gentle as the previous ones. They came prepared. Miss Jiangtan, hee. What did he mean? Where did he ask you to go? Lu Shu's face was a little pale. Using his remaining intelligence, he thought about it and realized that Miss Jiangtan was one of them. Oh my god! I'm a human. Shisheng glared at Lu Shu. Really? Lu Shu was relieved. It was good that she was a human. He was scared to death. It's fake. Lu Shu was about to cry. Miss Jiangtan, don't scare me. I'm a coward. Shisheng sneered. How dare you follow me if you're a coward? You must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts back then. Now you can't keep it up. Do you want to eat some xenogenics? Everyone was disgusted. A girl, a beautiful girl, asked them to eat xenogenics without batting an eyelid. It was so F***king scary. Lu Shu cleared his throat. It might be more dangerous outside now. It's safer to follow you. During the time they followed her, except for being scolded by her and eating bad food, they were fine. Looking at those people, they were living a terrible life. Lu Shu glanced at the corpses. Miss Jiangtan, these things appeared more than 10 years ago. Or even earlier. What do they want? Don't tell me those humans became like this when they got on board? These creatures. Shisheng lowered his head and poked the dead tentacle monster with his sword. They're a high-level creature. They can live in any living thing. High-level creatures? These tentacle monsters that looked like octopuses were high-level creatures. They're much smarter than you. Their average IQ is above 140. They're considered geniuses in your world. Any one of them is a genius. Don't you think they're high-level creatures? Lu Shu opened his mouth. He couldn't digest this. High-level creatures didn't look like them. Lu Shu touched his face. He didn't want to be a high-level creature. It was too scary. Shisheng finished his explanation and walked toward the spaceship. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. She could only hack it open with her sword. Lu Shu and his lackeys were speechless as they watched her destroy the spaceship. In the past, if they could get their hands on a spaceship, the researchers would be overjoyed. She, on the other hand, hacked it open without a frown. Wait outside. Shisheng got on the spaceship and turned around to stop Lu Shu and the others who were about to follow him. Okay. Lu Shu was a little disappointed. He wanted to go up and take a look at the spaceship. However, Shisheng didn't allow them to go up, so they had to wait outside. Soon, strange noises came from the spaceship. It took a while for it to stop. About a minute later, Shisheng came out with a tentacle monster in his hand. It was still alive. Lu Shu and his lackeys jumped away. The tentacle monster wrapped around Shisheng's hand. Its body was a little translucent. There were light spots on its tentacles. They flickered like fireflies. No attack power. Shisheng pulled the tentacle monster down and threw it on Lu Shu. Lu Shu jumped and tried to slap the tentacle monster down. However, the tentacle monster wrapped around his arm, and he couldn't do it. Lu Shu's scalp went numb. He yelled, "Miss Jiangtan, take it down." Shisheng rolled his eyes at him and pulled the tentacle monster down. The tentacle monster immediately wrapped itself around Shisheng's hand and hit the back of her hand with its tentacles. It seemed to be frightened. The baby tentacle monster was very cute. It had no attack power and could glow. However, it was not fun when it grew up. Not only was it not cute when it grew up, it was ugly. It was completely different from when it was young. Chapter 1374. Lu Shu didn't understand why Shisheng wanted this thing. Just looking at it made him feel disgusted. Lu Shu swallowed hard. "Miss Jiang, what are you going to do with it?" Shisheng answered seriously, "I'm going to show it to you." "No, I don't want to see it." "Really, Miss Jiang, please take it away." This was what Lu Shu wanted to express. He wanted to tear the tentacle monster into pieces. What was so good about looking at such a disgusting thing? Shisheng pulled the tentacle monster down. "Don't ever say that you've never seen it before. You have to be knowledgeable." Lu Shu was speechless. What did he mean by not being knowledgeable? Lu Shu watched Shisheng kill the tentacle monster and heaved a sigh of relief. "Miss Jiang, can we fly this spaceship?" Lu Shu's attention soon shifted to the spaceship behind Shisheng. His eyes lit up. This was a spaceship. It wasn't flying in the sky. It was just stopping in front of him. Okay, it was crashing down. No. Shisheng mercilessly broke his fantasy. This spaceship. Shisheng thought for a moment and came up with a more appropriate adjective. It's bound to them. Only they can fly it. Yes, that was what he meant. Anyway, only this race could fly this kind of spaceship. No one else could touch it. Lu Shu's face was full of disappointment. He thought he could have fun with it. Who knew that he couldn't fly it? In the following days, Shisheng took them to play with the spaceship when he was free. From time to time, they could kill some people who wanted to die. Of course, there were also a few mutants who came to her and asked her to go back. Anyway, they all ended up the same. They couldn't be more dead. Not all of the humans were sucked up. Half of them were still alive. The news of Yun Duo and Ji Xiu's lies and forcefully taking the credit for blowing up the base spread among the survivors. This news came without a clear reason. Naturally, everyone was skeptical. However, the mutants had almost caught all of the humans. The people who they once thought were the saviors didn't even show their faces. Naturally, the survivors began to doubt. It was just a rumor. It was a version that was passed down from one person to another. In the end, it was a completely different story. Shisheng also discovered that there were ability users among the humans who were still alive. In other words, only by staying with a paranormal would they not be taken to the surface by the new xenogenics. The mutants needed these espers. Shisheng's guess was right. The mutants came to her more frequently, but they didn't use violence. They replaced one after another. 029, your superior is summoning you back. Shisheng felt like her ears were about to explode. She dug her ears, looked at the mutant in human skin, and said arrogantly, "Tell your superior to come see me." As a powerful player, how could he lower his head to an NPC? Absolutely not. 029. This is your last warning. The Xenogeniac didn't move. He just looked cold. "Shisheng, I'm scared of you. Come and fight if you have the ability. What are you blabbering about?" Shisheng pulled out his sword and swung it down. The Xenogeniac was dead. Finally, after Shisheng killed the 39th Xenogeniac, the superior couldn't sit still anymore. He directly sent a message to Shisheng's mind. "Last chance. Last chance. Wow, this guy is so arrogant. I'm so scared." Shisheng attacked the Xenogeniac again. This time, the Xenogeniac was prepared. When Shisheng attacked, the Xenogeniac immediately cut off contact with her. Trash. Shisheng silently pointed his middle finger at the sky. "You don't even have the guts to fight me. How dare you challenge me?" Maybe Shisheng was too strong, or maybe the Xenogeniac had other plans. Anyway, after that incident, no more Xenogeniacs came to her. Shisheng also didn't receive any strange orders. It was as if the person who said those words was a joke. Just as Shisheng was feeling strange, there was a sudden movement at the border. The Xenogeniacs blew up the border. The last batch of Xenogeniacs that hadn't been killed all ran toward the border. The human world outside had fallen. Now the outside world is the same as the inside world. Lu Shu and his subordinates weren't worried about the collapse of the border. Instead, they were gloating. The people at the border of the city hated the outside world more or less. They could live a happy life outside because they didn't exchange their lives for it. They should also experience what it was like to live in the outside world. Therefore, basically, the people at the border of the city were not normal. The Xenogeniacs opened the border. Since then, a full-scale war broke out again. The tentacle monsters used the previous Xenogeniacs as the vanguard and spread out from the border of the city. Similar to what Shisheng thought, there were many people like her. They were like pathogens. All the people who got superpowers through them eventually became pawns of the Xenogeniacs. Humans thought they had a powerful weapon, but in fact, that weapon had already been signed by the Xenogeniacs. In the end, not only were they happy for nothing, but they also became the Xenogeniac slaves. All the paranormals were controlled by the Xenogeniacs. Together with the Xenogeniacs, they gained the right to speak in this world without much effort. These creatures are so weak. Isn't that right? But it's all thanks to the superior's plan. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to take over this place so quickly. Although these creatures called humans were weak, they still had their redeeming qualities. Only one left. A man in military uniform looked at the tragic scene below. His expression was the same as everyone else's. It was like a mass copy of coldness. "Superior, that person isn't easy to deal with," the person behind immediately said. "She's not under our command at all." They had sent in so many people, but only this woman was not under their control. The superior wanted to know what was going on, so he didn't do anything to her. The man called superior narrowed his eyes. "Then destroy it." No matter what the reason was, it didn't matter now. This place was already in his hands. Superior, bad news. Everyone looked at the person who suddenly rushed in. That person's face was pale. Under the expressionless gaze of a group of dead fish eyes, he said word by word, "The base has been destroyed." The table under the superior's hand shattered with a crack. What happened? I don't know. The base suddenly exploded, just like Isba's base. They saw the scene of such a huge base being blown up with their own eyes. It was very shocking. A congratulatory gift for conquering the world. Do you like it? Suddenly, a sentence popped up in the officer's mind. He suddenly grabbed the informant's neck and squeezed. Crack. The informant's neck was broken. A tentacle monster crawled out from a hole in the informant's head and quickly fled outside. Just as it was about to reach the gate, its body expanded and suddenly exploded. The other Xenogeniacs present all lowered their heads, afraid that the anger would spread to them. The superior hadn't been so angry in a long time. ## today's votes for Real Hedgehog # double monthly votes. Little cuties, vote monthly votes. Double monthly votes. Little cuties vote monthly votes. Chapter 1375. They were fighting in the front line, but their base was destroyed. There was nothing more humiliating than this. The officer was so angry that he ordered his men to destroy Shisheng on the spot. They were able to let the virus lurk in the human body, so they naturally considered the possibility that the virus would not obey them. The mutant who was ordered to execute Shisheng lowered his head and operated on the holographic screen for a while. As time passed, the mutant's hands began to tremble. After a while, he raised his head and could not hide his shock. "Sir, it didn't work. It didn't work." In other words, she was completely out of their control. The officer's dead fish eyes seemed to burst with anger, but if one looked closely, they were still the same dead fish eyes. There was nothing special about them. "Go and bring those two people to me," the officer shouted. He did not believe that a pawn like her could overturn the situation. "Yes, sir." Obviously, Shisheng could overturn the situation. Not only did she blow up the base, but she also killed many mutants. Without the mutants, they could not completely control the humans. In a short time, the control of the battlefield returned to the hands of the humans. This battle was like a F***king game. Humans thought that they had ushered in a savior, but Shisheng was only responsible for killing and nothing else. Often, as soon as she left, the mutants would send an army to take back the control. The situation was extremely chaotic. At night, Shisheng killed all the mutants in a city, and left the city with Lu Shu and the others to rest in the wilderness. Lu Shu was responsible for starting the fire. He looked at Shisheng and carefully moved over. "Miss Jiang, why don't we organize the humans to fight against the mutants?" "Why?" Shisheng looked at Lu Shu with a puzzled face. Lu Shu was confused. "This way, the chances of driving the mutants away will be higher." "Why should we drive the mutants away?" Shisheng continued to ask. "Lu Shu, wasn't that what he had been doing recently?" Shisheng looked at him coldly. "My hands are itchy and I want to kill people. In this world, killing is not illegal. How can I not kill enough?" "Lu Shu, Mom, there was a pervert here." Lu Shu coughed and forcefully changed the topic. "I didn't expect those superpowered people to be the mutants' lackeys. God gave them power, but they used it to collude with the mutants. How despicable." Shisheng glanced at Lu Shu. The light from the fire illuminated her face. "They were sent here by the Xenogeneics. To put it bluntly, they are puppets." Lu Shu tried hard to digest Shisheng's words. After a while she said, "You mean those superpowered people are also mutants?" Was that what she meant? Not really. The superpowers of the superhumans should have mutated after the fusion of their genes, but they were still humans. They were just being controlled by a mutant. "Miss Jiang, you seem to know a lot. Tell me more." Lu Shu stared at Shisheng with a strong desire for knowledge. No matter what, she always looked like she had a card up her sleeve. Things that they were completely clueless about. She was calm and indifferent, as if they were nothing in her eyes. "You wouldn't understand even if I told you." "How can I understand if you don't tell me?" "My understanding is very strong, Miss Jiang. Anyway, I have nothing to do now. You can tell me." Shisheng glanced at her. Lu Shu put her hands together with a pleading face. What happened recently made her very confused. Shisheng was silent for a while. "Then let's start with the photo of your father. The tentacle monsters and the mutants that occupied the Earth at the beginning were not in the same group. They might have followed the mutants in front of them, or they might have discovered it themselves. No matter how they discovered it, the tentacle monsters found it to be a good place, and they couldn't just let other mutants occupy it. Then, for some reason, they didn't immediately snatch it from the mutants in front of them. Instead, they released many pathogens in the human world. Don't ask her what a pathogen was. She wasn't a researcher, so she didn't know. In short, this pathogen would give humans superpowers, and it could also allow the tentacle monsters to control them through this superpower. Judging from the time when the photo was taken, it should be the time when the tentacle monsters released the pathogen. This didn't happen in the original plot, because the mutants' base was still standing. But the moment Shisheng arrived, not only did she destroy their base, she even killed the mutant emperor. How could the tentacle monsters not grasp such a good opportunity? Shisheng still didn't know the purpose of the tentacle monsters. They obviously didn't come for food. They controlled humans, but they didn't kill them. Could it be for reproduction? Look, when they appeared, they were all using human bodies. Oh, your IQ is online now. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Lu Shu was suddenly praised and touched his head a little embarrassedly. I just suddenly thought of it. Didn't you say that their reproduction rate is very low, and that every child is very precious? These words were popularized by Shisheng when he showed them the young tentacle monsters. That's right, we are here for reproduction. A voice suddenly interrupted. Lu Shu was so scared that he fell from the stone he was sitting on. He quickly looked around, but he didn't see anything. What about ghosts? Shisheng calmly pointed to the sky. Lu Shu looked up. A few spaceships appeared in the sky one after another. The light from the spaceships shone down below, bright and dazzling. Compared to Lu Shu's big reaction, Shisheng was much calmer. He didn't even move his eyebrows. She put one leg on the stone next to her, sitting like a bandit, and shook her leg vigorously. The light from the spaceship shone down, and a few men appeared in the light. All of their faces were pale, like corpses that had just crawled out of a coffin. While Shisheng was looking at them, they were also looking at Shisheng. I have a question. I wonder if you can answer it for me? The officer standing at the front asked. No. I wasn't your Baidu encyclopedia. How could I answer your question? Officer. Forget it. He could come up with a conclusion from the corpses anyway. I'll give you one last chance. Come back with me. Who do you think you are? Shisheng's tone was arrogant. The officer seemed to be enraged. His voice was tinged with anger. You asked for it. Tell them to come down. The last sentence was obviously an order to someone else. The light from the spaceship lit up again. When the light dissipated, two figures appeared in Shisheng's line of sight. Two people wearing strange armor walked over. When they got closer, Shisheng could see their faces clearly. You're awesome. Shisheng suddenly raised his hand and gave the officer a thumbs up. Even the male and female leads dared to do this. Wasn't that awesome? The armor was obviously fused with their bodies. Yin Duo and Ji Xiu were only exposed to the outside world with their faces exposed. Their expressions were dull, and there was no sign of life in their eyes. Asterisk double monthly votes. Vote, vote, vote. Chapter 1376. This was how the original owner had been transformed into a killing machine. She didn't expect Yin Duo and Ji Xiu to experience what the original owner had gone through. No, I mean, do you all like to do this kind of thing? Shisheng rubbed his chin and said sarcastically, You all think that you're superior creatures and look down on humans. Why do you want to use humans? Did it hurt to be slapped in the face? If you don't go back with me, there's only one outcome. The officer acted as if he didn't hear what Shisheng said. What? Shisheng sneered. Death. The officer stared at Shisheng and changed the topic. Many of our kind gave birth, but very few survived. The place we used to live is no longer suitable for living. If we don't do anything, only death awaits us. When we were about to give up, we found this remote planet. It's very backward, but the environment here is very suitable for us to live in. The original creatures here are also very suitable to be the hosts for our descendants. Wait a minute, aren't we fighting? Shisheng asked to stop. You're already here, but now you're telling I about it. Do you know the rules? I don't want to listen. The officer ignored Shisheng and continued. But the Isba tribe led their tribe to occupy this place. Our civilization is more advanced than theirs, but we don't have as many people as them. We can't fight them head-on. That's why you all are here. They were waiting for an opportunity. And not long ago, they waited for this opportunity. Are you going to fight or not? What nonsense are you talking about? My big sword is thirsting for blood. The officer glanced at Shisheng, then turned to Yin Duo and Ji Xiu and ordered, Kill her. He said so much because he wanted the hint he planted in her body to work, but there was no reaction at all. The officer didn't know that the hint wouldn't work because the core had changed. As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Duo and Ji Xiu moved at the same time. attacking Shisheng from the left and right. Shisheng. Where's Ai's sword? After the modification and the addition of their abilities, Yin Duo and Jixio's strength had more than doubled. With the addition of their armor, Shisheng couldn't hit them. F***ck. Fuck. Shisheng slashed twice. Suddenly, he took out energy balls and threw them at them as if they were free. After a series of explosions, only a few large craters were left, as well as the sizzling lightning. Shisheng quickly glanced in that direction, and found that Yin Duo and Jixio had dodged. At this time, they were sprinting toward her at a speed of 100 meters. What the F***ck? The situation was already like this. Where was the halo? How infuriating. Shisheng raised her sword and slashed at the cloud that was the first to approach her. The iron sword cut into her armor, producing an ear-piercing sound. Cracks appeared on the armor, but they were quickly repaired, as perfect as before. Shisheng was slightly surprised. Recycled materials? F***k. This thing is good stuff. Regardless of whether it was used to create armor or weapons, as long as it was not completely shattered, it could immediately repair it. Shisheng's eyes lit up as he looked at Cloud. There were two ways to obtain regenerative materials. The first was to extract them from special minerals, and the second was to obtain them from a type of insectoid. Of these two methods, the former was difficult to find minerals, while the latter was difficult to find insectoids. To sum it up in one sentence, this thing was extremely rare. Even in her era, it was a top-grade item. It might not even be seen in 100 years. She did not expect to see it here. Host, this is a virtual world. Even if you can bring it to the next dimension, you will never be able to bring it back to the real world. Shisheng. Why did she suddenly feel as if a basin of cold water had been poured over her? Shisheng was very clear about this rule. Other than the initial carving, the materials used to create the watch were all her own. She was too excited to see this thing just now and forgot about it for a moment. Shisheng quickly cast this thought aside, and went behind Cloud. Regenerative materials had to be completely destroyed in one go. Otherwise, they would be completely regenerated. The clouds rotated with her. When the clouds turned around, a red light flashed past Shisheng's eyes. A piercing sound that could make one's teeth fall off rang in her ears. Her chaotic thoughts seemed to have returned to their original position, and she could see the person in front of her clearly. Save. Before Cloud could finish her sentence, the sword had already pierced through her armor, and into her flesh and blood. The sword seemed to have rotated 360 times in her body, and the flesh that was connected to the armor was being forcefully peeled off. The pain was no less than when the armor was fused with her. Cloud could not bear the pain and screamed. Save me. Her eyes were bloodshot as she stared at Shisheng. Save me, but the figure was retreating. In the blink of an eye, she could no longer see her. Why? If she had been sent to the laboratory, she would have been the one who was so powerful, not her. Jiangtan, why are you not dead? Why are you still alive? Why don't you save me? Cloud stared in the direction Shisheng had disappeared in. The next second, her whole body suddenly exploded into a bloody mist. After taking care of Cloud, there was still Jixio. Jixio was already more powerful than Cloud. When Shisheng dealt with him, it was obviously a bit difficult. Plus, the armor was made of recycled materials, which wasted even more time. Jixio's eyes were still lifeless, and there was no sign of life. He only knew how to attack. He was determined to kill Shisheng. Bang! The violent explosion attracted Jixio's attention. Shisheng took the opportunity to take out an energy ball and threw it at Jixio. The energy ball smashed into the armor and exploded. The explosion set off a shockwave that spread out, and a terrifying force was mixed in it. Rumble. Shisheng looked up at the dark sky. There was no light at all. The clouds were low. F***cku. He cursed in his heart. The dust on the other side dispersed. Jixio's face was a little bloody from the explosion, but his body was not affected. He moved his hands and feet, and when Shisheng looked up at the sky, he shot at Shisheng like a cannonball. In the blink of an eye, the lightning in the sky struck down. Jixio and the lightning arrived at the same time. Shisheng did not have any equipment on him. He did not want to be struck into charcoal, so he chose to avoid the lightning. Ji Xiu bumped into him, and he flew into the air uncontrollably. The lightning that had been prepared for a long time struck again. Shi Sheng grabbed the iron sword and forced himself to change his landing position in the air. The lightning brushed past him and struck the forest next to him. A fire suddenly burned. Ji Xiu did not see Shi Sheng for a while. He looked around. At this moment, the front of him suddenly darkened. The cold iron sword fell from the top of his head. Asterisk, the word count has exceeded. The next author has something to say. The 40th world ended. Chapter 1377. It's good that we met now. Asterisk, the dusty blood is boiling, the cold armor is clamoring, blood stains the galaxy. You are the master. You walk on the light, break through the darkness, break the shackles. You come against the wind, break through the fog, break the cage. May you be as bright as the sea of stars, glorious for all ages, everlasting. May you be as dazzling as the moon and the stars, invincible, forever famous. May you be as dazzling as the stars. All the mountains and rivers, heaven and earth submit. The familiar melody echoed in the white room again and again. A group of people stood outside the room, blocking the door with solemn expressions. There were many people standing opposite them, and one of them was the most eye-catching. Her light purple dress wrapped around her graceful body, and the waves in front of her chest were very impressive. I'm very sorry, Miss Shirlan. Without the master's orders, no one is allowed to enter this room. How long has she been like this? How long are you going to guard her? If this goes on, what will happen to the Shi family? The one called Miss Shirlan was the woman in the purple dress. I say, does the Zhanlong guards belong to Shi Sheng or the Shi family? Do you still have the Shi family in your eyes? A man beside the woman in the purple dress roared. The man in the lead looked up at Shirlan and the other man, and repeated in a flat tone, Miss Shirlan, without the master's orders, no one is allowed to step into this room. Order? Shirlan pointed inside the room, her eyes full of mockery. She's already like this. How can he give orders? When did he give the order? Ah. Are the Zhanlong guards thinking of rebelling? Ka. The melody in the room suddenly stopped. A slightly impatient voice came from inside the room. What's the noise about? Shirlan's expression changed drastically, and her pupils contracted. She actually woke up at this time. Didn't she say she wouldn't wake up? Shifang. The man's expression was normal, but only he knew how big the fluctuation in his heart was. He glanced at Shirlan, then turned and entered the room. In the pure white room, a young girl sat on the bed with her head slightly lowered. She was wearing a silk nightgown, and her hair fell naturally, wrapping around her body. Shifang approached, his voice trembling. Patriarch. The young girl slightly raised her head. Her palm-sized oval face had an unnatural blush. Her skin was whiter than snow, and her eyebrows were like ink paintings. Her eyes were slightly narrowed, like a crescent moon. One could vaguely see that she was cold and quiet. She clearly had an extremely beautiful face, but at this moment, her expressionless face appeared somewhat gloomy. She reached out and brushed away the black hair that hung in front of her chest, revealing her exquisite collarbone. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and her face suddenly became lively, like a withered flower that suddenly bloomed. His brows relaxed as his phoenix eyes opened. His pitch-black pupils were like the vast starry sky that encompassed everything in the world. Yet no one was able to pry any secrets from them. Shi Sheng took the clothes next to him and put them on. He lifted the quilt and got out of bed. How long have I been asleep? Shifang lowered his head and answered respectfully. 98 days and 16 hours. It's only been 3 months. Shi Sheng sighed. Shifang, what do you mean by talented, patriarch? Do you know how many things have happened in these 3 months? If Shifang knew how long Shi Sheng had spent in those plains, he wouldn't think so. Shi Sheng looked out of the room. The silver door reflected Shirlan's pale face. She met Shi Sheng's gaze and suddenly took a step back. If it weren't for the people beside her supporting her, she wouldn't have been able to stand steadily. Shi Sheng sneered. Why are unrelated people here? It's my fault. Shifang lowered his head even more. Shi Sheng put on his clothes and walked towards the door. The group of people outside the door all lowered their heads. Some people had already fled further away, not wanting to have anything to do with Shirlan and the others. Do you think I'm going to die? Shisheng looked at Shirlan. His lips moved slightly, full of malice. I've disappointed you. I didn't die this time. You want to pull me down? Dream on. Everyone involved in this matter. Patriarch, please have mercy. I was forced. Shirlan forced us to do this. Patriarch, Shirlan forced us to do this. The people around Shirlan didn't care about their status and directly knelt on the ground. They regretted it so much. They shouldn't have listened to Shirlan. Now that she suddenly woke up, they were afraid. Shisheng looked at them coldly. Since you know the consequences, you must have the backbone to bear the consequences. Don't make it seem like I forced you to rebel. Everyone immediately fell silent. Shifeng, I won't keep those with disloyalty. I know what to do. Won't keep those with disloyalty. She always meant what she said and didn't tolerate disloyalty. It was fine if they weren't discovered, but if they were, everyone's faces were filled with despair. They vented their anger on Shirlan. Shirlan, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. Yulan was already paralyzed on the ground. She clenched her fists, her nails digging deep into her flesh. Why did you wake up? The doctor clearly said that there was no possibility of her waking up. Why did she suddenly wake up? Do you think you can become the head of the family if I don't wake up? Shirlan's eyes were filled with hatred, and her beautiful face was distorted. If it wasn't for you, I would have been the head of the family long ago. Shisheng, you be *tch, it's all your fault. What right do you have to snatch it from me? The corner of Shisheng's lips lifted. The winner is king. Shirlan's face turned pale. The Shir family's head, who had been unconscious for 3 months and was told that she would never wake up, suddenly woke up. This news instantly spread throughout the entire planet, and even the entire Netherworld galaxy. Everyone thought that she would definitely die. Even if she didn't die, she would never wake up again. At this moment, the person from the Shir family woke up. Under Shifeng's strong request, Shisheng did a full physical examination, and finally confirmed that everything was normal. The 3 months of sleep seemed like an accident. Why didn't the news be suppressed? Shisheng looked at the excited crowd on Starweb and asked Shifeng calmly. Young Master Shi was the first to discover that something happened to the family head. We were a step too late. Is Shi involved too? Young Master Shi only sent you to the hospital. You know that he is. The media has been keeping an eye on him. The media naturally knew that you were sent to the hospital by him. By the time we wanted to suppress the news, it was already too late. After that, because she didn't give any instructions, other than ensuring her safety, they more or less had restrictions on everything else. Shisheng tilted his head and looked at Shifeng. Do you think he's not involved? Young Master Shi has always appeared innocent to the outside world, but why didn't this young master send the head of the family to the Shi family's hospital? Why did he have to send the head of the family here, with so many media present? That's right. The innocent Shi is the most dazzling superstar in our Netherworld galaxy. Shisheng paused. Unfortunately, this superstar has reached its final destination. Shifeng already had an answer in his heart. I'll do it now. Shisheng watched Shifeng leave. The Shi family never lacked young masters. There were plenty of them, but there weren't many young masters who could enter the Shi family. Shi was one, and Shirlan was another. She had only slept for 3 months, and her hidden claws had already reached out. Shisheng looked into the distance. I'm back. Asterisk in the real world. It's not the end, so don't ask if it's going to end. Don't ask me for the complete version of the lyrics. I don't have it. I only have these few lines. These few lines have already exhausted all my brain cells. Chapter 1378. The latest news is that due to personal reasons, Shi has taken an indefinite hiatus from acting from today onwards. His newly released Fire Beacon is currently in the midst of a popular screening, but he suddenly announced his hiatus. Coincidentally, the head of the Shi family woke up a day ago. I wonder what this has to do with. As soon as this news was released on Starweb, Shi Sheng's personal page was occupied by Shi Yi's fans. There were all sorts of scoldings. There was no end to the dark history of Shi Sheng's personal page. Fans from all walks of life moved when they heard the news. They cheered for Shi Yi's fans and scolded Shi Sheng for taking advantage of the situation. Of course, Shi Sheng also had brainless fans, and there were quite a number of them. Naturally, both sides had to fight. Just by looking at her profile page, one could see a bunch of interesting things happening. Let me see the head of the family. Shifeng, please let me see the head of the family. An exquisite young man knelt in front of a door. There were tears on his face and his eyes were filled with tears. It made one's heart ache. Young Master Shi Yi, the head of the family has just woken up and needs to recuperate. If you continue to cause trouble, don't blame me for being rude. Shifeng's expression was solemn and unmoved. Shifeng, I beg you. The young man grabbed Shifeng's hand and revealed his softest side. Let me go in and see the head of the family. Shifeng. Kacha. The door opened and Shi looked up abruptly. The young girl stood against the light. She was wearing a long black dress with lifelike patterns embroidered on it. The flower buds were blood red, but the petals were white. It was as if there were elves embedded on it that could spread their wings and fly out at any time. The young girl's expression was cold, like a high and mighty queen. She walked slowly, and every step she took seemed to be walking on the tip of Shi Yi's heart. Head. Shi lowered his head. I know I was wrong. The young girl's voice was light and gentle, and there was a hint of laziness like a cat's. The end of her voice was decadent and tugged at one's heartstrings. You were wrong for not killing me back then, right? Shi lowered his head and did not dare to speak. Yes, he was wrong for not killing her back then. However, he knew that even if he killed her back then, the Zhanlong guards led by Shifeng would not let him off. He did not dare. The Zhanlong guards were no longer the Shi family's Zhanlong guards. They were Shi Sheng's Zhanlong guards. Shi Yi, the girl called out softly. Shi Guang's body trembled slightly as her face turned pale. She bit down on her lips so hard that blood seeped out. I told you not to act rashly until you're sure that I'm dead. Why didn't you listen? Shi clearly remembered that when she said this, it was when she became the head of the Shi family. He actually dared to speak so arrogantly in front of the entire clan. It's not scary to have ambition. What's scary is that you don't have the courage to control your ambition. The young girl walked past him, her skirt brushing against his arm. Coldness gathered from all directions. Shifeng shook his head. As long as these people did not involve the interests of the patriarch would not care about them. They could even rely on the prestige of the patriarch to do whatever they wanted outside. He did not understand why they were still not satisfied, and insisted on killing the patriarch. Did they not understand that if something were to happen to the head of the household, the Shi family would not be able to hold on? If not for the head of the household turning the tide back then, did they really think that they could still live such a life here? These juniors had become more and more outrageous over the years. Shifeng caught up with Shi Sheng. Patriarch, are you going out? What's the matter? The invitation for the 12 summits has arrived. Do you want to take a look? I don't have time. Shifeng knew that this would be the result and did not persuade him further. Patriarch, I will send a small team of Zhanlong guards to follow you. Blue Planet has been a little chaotic recently. Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows. Who is so arrogant as to cause trouble here? Don't they know that this is my territory? During the 3 months that you were unconscious, many forces have sent people over, even the Alliance is no exception. You know that without your orders, the Zhanlong guards are restricted in many areas, so we can't care so much. Go and tell them to get out of Blue Planet within a day, or else they can forget about going home. Shifeng. The patriarch was always so swift and decisive. Looking at the figure walking out, a smile appeared on Shifeng's handsome face. Fortunately, she was fine. Host, but face, you're still here? What's so strange about it being here? Why is the host so surprised? All right, her tone was very calm and there was nothing surprising about it. I am bound to the host, so of course I'm here. Shi Sheng stopped outside the Shi family's house and got into the hover car. He skillfully set the route and activated the car's autopilot. Why, your master is still not coming to see me? You forced yourself out, and I haven't contacted my master yet. What's there to see? Without my master's instructions, the system did not know what to do now. Host, where are you going? To find someone. Sheng ignored the system and looked down at the scenery passing by below. The system took the opportunity to collect information on the star web. The information on Sheng on the star web could be summarized into 2 points. First, she was the patriarch of the Sher family. Second, she was very hateful. There were almost no rumors about her on the star web. They only knew that she was very arrogant and disliked the alliance. Anyway, in the eyes of the public, she was a murderous, eccentric, and tyrannical psychopath. Yes, a very powerful psychopath. Host, if you are so powerful, why is there no news about you on the star web? You will be locked up in a small black room if you talk bad about me. Keep bragging, keep bragging. My master must have done something. Sheng smiled and did not say anything. The hover car stopped steadily. She opened the car door and jumped out. This was a very old residential area. At least in the system's eyes, it was very old. Compared to the bright and spacious streets in front of her, it was as if she had traveled back in time and returned to the star web. Sheng walked through the old alleys and finally stopped in front of a wall. She went forward and knocked on the wall. After waiting for about a minute, Sheng was ready to draw her sword. The wall rippled like water, and a door slowly appeared. It was made of sandalwood, and there were ancient patterns on the door. Sheng reached out and pushed the door. The system was shocked by the scene behind the door. It was a courtyard house, and it was very ancient. Sheng stepped into the courtyard. The door behind her disappeared and the wall returned. In an instant, it was as if she had traveled from the star web to the ancient times. Sheng, why are you still alive? An unfriendly voice came from a room. It sounded like a woman's voice. Sheng looked at the room. Don't be so unfriendly. If you have something to say it in the courtyard. I don't want to see you. You say it as if I want to see you. Sheng rolled her eyes. Help me find someone, and everything you owe me will be written off. From then on, we will go our separate ways. The woman did not speak for a long time. After a long time, she finally spoke. Who is it? Why are you doing this? Sheng's lips curled into a faint smile. My wife. Asterisk monthly votes. Double monthly votes. Ah. Chapter 1379. A person like you can actually fall in love with someone. Ha. The woman seemed to be very disdainful and changed the topic. Do you have a keepsake? Sheng took out the watch and placed it on the table in the courtyard. She had already searched for him when she came back, but there was no trace of him at all. The watch flew into the house on its own. Let's say this first. If I help you find him, we'll go our separate ways from now on. The woman seemed to be afraid that Sheng would go back on his word, and emphasized it again. When have I ever gone back on my word? Hurry up. The woman fell silent. Sheng wandered around the courtyard. About half an hour later, the woman's voice sounded. I can't tell the exact location. I can only tell you the approximate location. Where is it? Does the agreement still count? Sheng's lips twitched. It does. Imperial Capital Star. Sheng was stunned. The female lead said maliciously. You left the Imperial Capital Star for someone back then. Now are you going back for someone? The watch flew out of the room. Sheng reached out to catch it. She slowly tightened her grip as her eyes darkened. Sheng kept the watch. Goodbye. The woman did not speak. Sheng turned around and walked out of the wall. Standing on the old street, she looked up at the distant sky. Imperial Capital Star. Sheng let out a turbid breath and returned to the Sher family quietly. He had already been taken away from the Sher family. Even his things had disappeared as if this person had never appeared. The elders of the Sher family waited in the hall until midnight, but they did not see him, so they could only go back first. In the next few days, other than Fang, no one saw Sheng. In the room, Sheng leaned against the chair. The vast universe's holographic projection enveloped her. Her eyes were open, but they did not move. Master. A girl in a princess dress appeared in the projection. She reached out to touch Shishang's eyes. Master, you need to rest. She had been in this state for a long time. Shishang, Master, I'm here, the girl replied crisply. Shishang's voice was faint. I'm going back to the capital star. Shishang bit his lip. Master, if you don't want to go back, you can ask Shifang to help you. You don't have to force yourself. Shishang took her hand away and waved it in the air. The holographic projection of the universe disappeared. Shishang held Shishang's hand for a long time before he said, Change back. Master. Shishang was a bit unhappy. Shishang looked at her quietly. Shishang turned back to his flat form, feeling wronged. Shishang called Shifang in and handed Shishang to him. Take her out to play for a day. Keep a close eye on her. Shifang took it respectfully. Yes. Shifang didn't know where Shishang came from, but it far surpassed the current artificial intelligence. Shishang frowned and continued. In addition, get ready to attend the 12th summit. Patriarch? Shifang was very surprised. You. Was he provoked? The 12th summit was held on the imperial capital star. Shishang's gaze drifted over, and Shifang immediately lowered his head. I'll do it right away. There were now 6 galaxies in the galaxy. Other than the Nether Galaxy and the Red Moon Galaxy, the other 4 galaxies had formed an alliance. The Red Moon Galaxy was the strongest among the 6 galaxies. It wasn't a problem that it didn't form an alliance with the other 4 galaxies. However, the Nether Galaxy wasn't strong. It was ranked last among the 6 galaxies. The only reason it didn't join the alliance was because of Shishang. The alliance clearly stated that as long as she was alive, the alliance would refuse to let the Nether Galaxy join. The people who didn't know the truth thought that the conflict between the alliance and Shishang was because she had robbed the alliance's reserve. In fact, the conflict between them was far more than that. Of course, outsiders would never know about this, so the Nether Galaxy couldn't join the alliance. Every time the Zergs and interstellar pirates invaded, the Nether Galaxy suffered heavy casualties. Everyone pointed their fingers at Shishang. And every time there was a war, the blue planet where the Shir family lived didn't send a single soldier. She was powerful and could protect the blue planet, but what about the people outside the blue planet? She didn't care about the lives of others. What was the use of being powerful? They couldn't join the alliance because of her and couldn't get support. Who else could they hate but her? If the Nether Galaxy was ranked on the hate list, Shishang's name would definitely be second place. The system expressed despair at the information it learned. What kind of scum was the host? Capital Star. All the spaceships that came to participate in the 12th summit had to dock at the Capital Star's port. During this period, no other spaceships were allowed to dock at the port. There were layers of guards, afraid that someone would cause trouble. The spaceship with the word Yen on it slowly stopped. The ceremonial team waiting in the distance immediately went over to the spaceship. They were dressed in neat white clothes and had good looks. The men on the left and the women on the right. They all had smiles on their faces and walked in an orderly manner. It was obvious that they were well trained. They stopped in front of the spaceship. The cabin door opened and an old man and a young man came down. The old man had white hair and white eyebrows. He was dressed in a very retro tang suit. The young man behind him was dressed normally, but his eyes were sharp. After they came down, another group of people came down and protected the old man and the young man in the middle. Master Yin. The captain smiled and bowed. Young Master Yin, the hotel has been arranged. The old man stroked his beard and asked the captain, how many people have arrived? The captain nodded slightly. The Jin and Zong families have arrived. A few executives from the administrative planets have also arrived. The Mu and Ji family's spaceships will arrive soon. The old man nodded. Out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw a spaceship next door. It was a pure black spaceship. There was nothing on it except for a white flower. The flower bud was red, and it was very eye-catching on the pure black spaceship. The old man was surprised. The Shir family is here too? The captain followed the old man's gaze and smiled. Sire Shifang brought the Zhanlong guards here, but we didn't see Master Shir. Even the Zhanlong guards are here. How could that little girl from the Sher family not be here? The old man's face darkened. How many years has it been since she stepped into the capital star? Why is she here this year? Did your brain get damaged after being sick for a while? The captain broke out in cold sweat. If that person heard this, they would definitely fight. This was a matter between the big shots. A small captain like him shouldn't get involved. There were 6 big families in the Netherworld galaxy that people feared the most. Even the executives from the administrative planets had to be courteous to the people from the 6 big families. The Yin family was one of the 6 big families. The Sher family was naturally one of them. The spaceship arrived this morning. There was no sign on the spaceship and it was almost stopped by people. The flower was sprayed by the Zhanlong guards just now. The Sher family hadn't entered the capital star for many years. They were absent from the 12 summit every year. Who would have thought that they would suddenly come this year? Maybe he was really sick and his brain was damaged. #hashtag asking for pink primrose flavored votes today #asking for votes. Asking for votes. Please read the top post in the book review section. Serious talk about 50 cents. Chapter 1380. Grandpa, I still don't understand why you're so afraid of Sher Sheng. In the car, the silent young man suddenly spoke. When the name Sher Sheng was mentioned, it was bound to be cursed. Patriarch Yin looked out of the car window at the skyscrapers that were moving backward. The people moving below were as small as ants. Why? Patriarch Yin retracted his gaze and stroked his white beard. His eyes were filled with light. I'll tell you these things when you inherit my position. Grandpa? Patriarch Yin changed the topic. That little girl came to the capital star. I'm afraid this year's summit can't continue. Don't run around. You're the only successor of the Yin family. I don't want to lose it because of her. The hover car arrived at the entrance of the hotel. Before it came to a stop, it saw 3 layers of people surrounding it. The most eye-catching ones were the Zhanlong guards who were dressed in black. Their attire was very unique. Inside, they wore black combat uniforms that resembled military uniforms. On the outside, they wore capes. A golden dragon coiled up from below. Its head rested on their shoulders. It opened its mouth wide as if it wanted to bite off their necks. Every one of them had a solemn expression and stood straight like a sharp sword. No matter how the crowd pushed and shoved, they didn't move an inch. These were the Zhanlong guards. The Zhanlong guards that once terrified the Zergs and shook the galaxy. A young girl stood in the middle of the Zhanlong guards. Her black dress made her skin look white. Half of her hair was casually tied up, and the other half was scattered behind her. She just stood there without saying a word. She was neither angry nor happy, but she had a domineering aura. But in that domineering aura, there was a hint of, she Sher Sheng? Yin Lin looked down through the transparent car window. Her name appeared frequently on the star web, but there were no photos of her. No matter if it was taken secretly or by the media, as long as it was uploaded, it would be deleted. Even the photos saved in one's own terminal would be deleted. Because of this, many people even sued her in the Supreme Court of the Netherworld Galaxy, claiming that she violated their privacy. In the end, she said, "If you don't save eyes photos, I will violate your privacy." Then the matter was settled. Later, there were fewer and fewer photos of her. Many people only heard of her name, but never saw her. Patriarch Yin asked, "What do you think of her?" Yin Lin pondered for a moment. It's a little evil. She did have a noble air about her. However, amidst that noble air, she would occasionally emit an evil aura that could not be ignored. That's right. This little girl is evil and cruel. You should avoid her. Patriarch Yin warned his grandson. Yin Lin looked down again and muttered, "Is it that serious?" The girl below seemed to have said something, and the crowd suddenly began to retreat. The young lady turned around and entered the hotel. The Zhanlong guards followed behind her. As they walked, their cloaks fluttered in the wind. The golden dragon swayed as if it was about to soar into the sky. Sher Sheng lived on the top floor. Originally, the Ji family, one of the 6 great families, was also arranged to live on the top floor. However, when the Ji family heard that she was coming, they took the initiative to go to the lower floor. "Brother Yi, I want to stay on the top floor. A girl dressed like a little princess hugged a man's arm and acted coquettishly. Not this time. The man's tone was gentle. It's the same down there. We'll stay down there. The girl pouted. Why? The man patted her head. The one from the Shi family is here. The Shi family? Shi Sheng? The girl asked curiously. Yes. The man pushed the girl into the room and didn't want to say more. Wash up first. I'll take you out later. Okay. The girl immediately beamed. The man left the room and ordered the people outside. Watch the miss. I'll go up and say hello. Yes. The man took the elevator upstairs. At the door he met Shifeng, who was about to go downstairs. Shifeng took a step back and nodded politely. Patriarch Ji. Is she here? Ji Yi smiled and returned the greeting. Patriarch went to Frost Moon Street. Ji Yi was stunned. That's true. She'll definitely go there first. I'll come later. Patriarch Ji. Shifeng stopped Ji Yi. Forgive me for being blunt. Patriarch doesn't want to see you. You'd better keep an eye on Ji Xian. If she offends Patriarch, he might do something. If it wasn't for you back then. Ji Yi's face paled and he interrupted Shifeng. I understand. Don't tell her that you came. Shifeng's expression was solemn, as if he was swearing an oath. Shifeng is loyal to Patriarch. Ji Yi understood what he meant. He would definitely tell her. Ji Yi didn't say anything else. He turned and entered the elevator. The elevator went down for a very short time. When the elevator door opened, Ji Yi didn't finish his thoughts. He collected his emotions and walked out of the elevator with a smile on his face. Patriarch Ji, what are you doing? Ji Yi turned around and saw the two from the Yan family. He nodded slightly, polite and distant. Patriarch Yan. Patriarch Yan glanced at the elevator. You've been up there? Ji Yi smiled and didn't answer. Patriarch Yan motioned for Ji Yi to go with him. What does that have to do with you? She's just venting her anger on you. She's being unreasonable. When has she ever been reasonable? Ji Yi shook his head. Patriarch Yan sighed. That's true. Since that incident, she's become more and more unreasonable. She used her fists to reason until you were convinced. I don't know why she came back this time. She even brought so many Zhanlong guards. Obviously, she's not here with good intentions. Those old guys must be scared out of their wits now. Patriarch Yan's tone was either gloating or lamenting. If you don't do anything wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. Patriarch Yan laughed. Ha ha ha, just wait and see. At the latest, someone will come to ask about the news. Yan Lin, who was behind them, was confused. What were they talking about? He could understand them separately, but when they were combined, he couldn't understand a single word. Frost Moon Street. At first, it was called Double Moon Street, because the buildings here were two crescent moons facing each other, and there was a man-made river in the middle. Later, because the street was surrounded by frost trees, which came from a very remote planet, frost would form every morning and night, so the name was changed to Frost Moon Street. Shisheng looked at the river that had been filled in. There were no frost trees around. Just like the river, it was drowned in the torrent of history. No one knew the origin of Frost Moon Street. Shisheng walked through the river and walked towards the deepest part of Frost Moon Street. She walked very slowly. Her eyes swept around from time to time, as if she was recalling something, but also as if she was just observing the changes in Frost Moon Street. Finally, she stopped in front of a carved door in the deepest part of Frost Moon Street. Outside the door, there were strange vines that covered the door. They followed the door all the way up, almost wrapping the entire wall. Shisheng went forward and pulled the vines. They were very tight. Chapter 1381. Shisheng gave up after a few tugs. She stared at the door calmly. As night fell, the light around her dimmed. The street lamps elongated her shadow. The robot cleaning the street walked past her, cleaned up the vines she had just broken, and left. Shifeng's figure gradually approached. He bowed and said, Patriarch, let's go back. Shisheng was silent for a few seconds. Did Ji Yi come to find me? Yes, Shifeng replied. Shisheng looked up at the vines on the wall. They think I'm venting my anger on him. Do you think so too? Shifeng replied without hesitation. Master, you wouldn't vent your anger on someone for no reason. Shisheng turned around. Caught off guard, Shifeng met Shisheng's gaze. His heart skipped a beat. He quickly looked away and looked at the ground. She moved and walked past him slowly. He heard her voice. It was calm and monotonous. I'm venting my anger on him. Shifeng was slightly surprised, but he didn't dare to ask. He followed her silently. Back at the hotel, Shisheng fell asleep immediately. When he woke up in the morning, he acted as if nothing had happened. Shisheng wasn't here to attend the 12th summit, so she wasn't interested in these people at all. The 12th summit was held every year. The 6 major families, the executives of the 5 administrative planets, and the royal family of the Nether Galaxy had to attend. It was equivalent to an annual deployment. Of course, only the top forces had to attend. There were also some strange organizations that would attend the 12th summit. Host, I suggest you attend the 12th summit. The system's voice suddenly sounded. Why? You can find the person you're looking for. There's no one with the surname Feng in the 12th summit. There was no one with the surname Feng in the Nether Galaxy, only the Red Moon Galaxy. But there was no match in the Red Moon Galaxy. I'm just giving the host a suggestion. It's none of my business whether you listen or not. The system was very arrogant. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. What's wrong, Buttface? Have you contacted your master? I don't want to talk to the host. Shisheng looked up at the sky. Buttface, do you belong to the Alliance? Of course not. The system snorted. Shisheng mumbled. Then it can only be those strange organizations. Master, I didn't say anything. She guessed it herself. There were only a few strange organizations in the galaxy, but those were the more famous ones. There were many less famous ones, and the number of illegal organizations was uncountable. If she really wanted to investigate them one by one, it would waste a lot of time. 12 Summit, TSK, since I'm already here, I have to let those old farts know that I'm back. Let's go then. On the day of the 12th Summit, the Imperial family was the first to arrive. As the host, they had to act as the host, not to mention that Shisheng was also present this time. This time, the person in charge of this matter was the third prince of the Imperial family, Shangguanpu. Shangguanpu had seen Shisheng's ferocious appearance before. He brought his men to the venue early in the morning, but when he entered the venue, he found that there were already people there. The young girl put her legs on the table, crossed her arms, and stared at the entrance of the venue. After so many years, she still looked the same. She was indeed beautiful, but she was too savage. He couldn't bear to look at her directly. But why was this woman here so early? He took a deep breath, moved his facial muscles, and stepped forward with a smile. Family head, why are you here so early? Shisheng raised his eyebrows and said in a light tone, Am I not welcome? How would I dare? Who welcomes you? Everyone wished that you didn't come. They cursed in their hearts, but they didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction on their faces. Why did family head think of attending the 12th summit this time? Shisheng looked at Shangguanpu with a faint smile, but his eyes were incomparably cold. There's no seat for me at the 12th summit? Shangguanpu. Was that what he meant just now? What nonsense are you twisting? Her smile was scarier than her fierceness. What are you laughing at? What's so funny? I really want to cover her face. Shangguanpu gritted his teeth and squeezed out a smile. Family head must be joking. How can there be no seat for you at the 12th summit? Without your seat, it's not called the 12th summit. He couldn't offend her. Otherwise, this year's 12th summit wouldn't be able to continue. Shisheng's smile deepened. It's good that you have it. I thought that because I didn't come back for so many years, you took away my seat. Family head worries too much. We won't do such a thing. No matter how angry Shangguanpu was, he could only hold it in. I heard that family head wasn't feeling well a few days ago. I wonder if you're better now? I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm very well. How can I be disappointed? As long as family head is well. Why don't you just sleep and not wake up? After being scolded by Shisheng, He came out of the venue with his back covered in cold sweat. Why did she come back? Shengguanpu shouted at the people beside him. Third prince, no one knows. She only has the Zhanlong guards by her side, but you know how the Zhanlong guards talk. Even if the sky falls, they won't say a word. There's no news from the blue planet. Shengguanpu was tired. The other families don't know either? No one has met her face to face. How would they know? Their brains must have been fried. Shengguanpu scolded. Inform the others and tell them to hurry up. She's already here, and they're still taking their time. Are they looking for death? Everyone looked at each other. Was it going to be held in advance? What about His Majesty? Shengguanpu waved his hand. I'll go and inform the others. Hurry up and inform the others. Because Shisheng arrived too early, the others had to hurry. Many people hadn't seen her for a long time, but the things she did never stopped spreading to their ears. In the Netherworld galaxy, there was probably no one who hadn't heard of her bad reputation. Shisheng occupied several seats by himself. The others came forward to say hello and left, afraid that she would find trouble. The youngest person who could sit down looked to be 27 or 28 years old. Only she looked like a little girl. She sat calmly in a group of big shots. The people who were far away whispered, "She's been in a coma for 3 months. Why did she wake up for no reason?" Who knows? Maybe she released fake news. Didn't you see how she dealt with Shi and Shirlan, who had ulterior motives as soon as she woke up? These two people have entered the main family. She didn't even say anything and just dealt with them. It's a pity for Shuri. My daughter still likes him very much. Shuri asked for it himself. The Shur family raised him up, so they naturally have the ability to pull him down. But if this is a trap set up by that person, then it's a little. It can't be. Why not? Why did she wake up so timely? A trap? Aren't you overestimating Shuri and Shirlan? She didn't even set up a trap when she chose the alliance back then. How could Shuri and Shirlan let her set up a trap? Are you kidding me? This voice was a little loud, and the venue suddenly fell silent. Chapter 1382. The man who spoke was sitting in the seat of the Jin family. He was the head of the Jin family, Jin Shi. Despite his nice name, he was just a rough man. His appearance was also quite rough, which didn't match his name at all. Jin Shi was straightforward and had a bad temper. He used to say whatever he wanted, but today he also knew that he had lost his composure. He glanced at Shisheng, who didn't react. He just stared at the table calmly, as if he could see a flower on the table. Seeing that Shisheng didn't react, everyone changed the topic. She didn't react this time, but it didn't mean that she wouldn't react next time. Ji Yi sat next to the head of the Yin family and glanced at Shisheng from the corner of his eyes. The latter seemed to have noticed his gaze and suddenly looked up. Her eyes were so cold that it seemed to tear him apart. After a while, she retracted her gaze and sat in a different position, directly blocking his view. Ji Yi opened his palm and found that it was full of cold sweat. Time passed by, and there were still people who hadn't arrived. His Majesty naturally had to wait for everyone to arrive before coming out, but at this time, His Majesty was already in the lounge at the back. I'll talk. Shisheng knocked on the table, and the president suddenly quieted down. Are you here to chat or to have a meeting? At this time, it was already past the official time of the meeting, and Shisheng had no reason to be angry. Shengguanpu quickly stood up and explained. Head of the Shur family, the head of the Mu family hasn't arrived yet. Let's start the meeting. Shisheng interrupted Shengguanpu. Do you really think he's the emperor and the whole world has to wait for him? Shengguanpu was speechless. Since Mu Lantian left the family and his son took over, the Mu family had become more and more rampant in recent years because of their 2 super mechas. Every year, the Mu family would arrive after the appointed time, which embarrassed the royal family. Super mecha. There were less than 10 of them in all the galaxies. Some of them couldn't even be used. Not everyone could control a super mecha. But the Mu family had a stroke of luck. They already had one, and then they got another one, and both of them could be controlled by someone. Wouldn't the Mu family be proud of themselves? They had heard that the Shur family had more than one super mecha, but they had never seen anyone from the Shur family using it. Hence, they did not know if this rumor was true or not. Shursheng, on the other hand, had once destroyed a super mecha in the Red Crescent Galaxy with his bare hands. Although he didn't know how she had broken it with her bare hands. This was what Red Moon's message meant when dissected into simple words. Shang Guanpu glanced at Shursheng and gestured for everyone to return to their seats. It was about to begin. The old guys from the capital star sat there with ugly faces. She didn't know if it was because of the Shursheng or because of the Mu family. After everyone was seated, His Majesty came out of the lounge inside. His Majesty was already old, but his aura was still there. Everyone stood up and bowed to pay their respects. The Shursheng just tilted his head and looked at His Majesty. He had no intention of getting up. Let's begin. His Majesty waved his hand tiredly. He didn't even give a speech. After all, this person was here. Shang Guanpu immediately walked to the middle of the round table. He cleared his throat. This year's summit, we have 3 main areas to discuss. The first is about the suppression of the interstellar pirates at the border. The second is about the revision of the interstellar law. The third is about the various administrative planets. Kacha. The closed conference room was pushed open. A man came in from the outside. He looked okay, but there was some conceit between his eyebrows. The man seemed a little surprised. Has it begun? Everyone's eyes were focused on him, but the man acted as if nothing had happened. I'm really sorry, I was delayed for a while on the way. His mouth said sorry, but his attitude didn't show the slightest apology. Lord Mu, please take a seat. Shang Guanpu was sweating. This Mu-yi didn't even look at who was sitting here today. How dare he be so arrogant? Can he be more arrogant than others? If it weren't for the 12th summit, he really wanted to let him continue and wait for the person over there to clean him up. Why did it start so early? Mu-yi walked to his seat and asked Shang Guanpu. Shang Guanpu braced himself and said, Lord Mu, it's already past the start time. If it weren't for Shursheng sitting here, he might have given Mu-yi a face and made up a reason to fool him. But he didn't dare to say anything. Is it past? Mu-yi pretended to look at his personal terminal. Oh, I didn't pay attention to the time. I've made everyone wait for a long time. His Majesty looked down and pretended that he did not see anything. He was just a mascot with a noble status. Everyone. You know you've made everyone wait for a long time? Every year at the summit, they saw the Mujia's pretentious behavior. They couldn't wait to drive the Mujia's people out. This year, maybe this wish will come true. Everyone looked at Shursheng expectantly. Shursheng held his chin, his head slightly tilted, watching Mu-yi walk to his side. The arrangement of the seats was also particular. Although it was round, His Majesty was still sitting on the top. On the left of His Majesty were the people from the 6 great clans. On the right were the people from the administrative planets, and on the opposite side of His Majesty was the royal family. Shursheng's seat was the first on the left, which used to be Mu-yi's seat. But this year, she came, so this seat was naturally arranged for her. Mu-yi's eyes narrowed, but she didn't make a fuss. She nodded at Shursheng. Master Shur, I've heard a lot about you. Shursheng's mouth twitched. Master Mu, I wonder if you still remember Mu Bai. Mu-yi's face suddenly changed. Shursheng's smile deepened, and his voice was faint. He's back. Master Shur, this news. Shursheng had already turned his head and didn't intend to pay attention to Mu-yi. Mu-yi glanced around and obviously felt that this was not the place to talk, so she closed her mouth and sat down uneasily. Everyone. That's it. They thought she was going to throw Mu-yi out. But it was over with just one sentence. As expected of Shursheng. Awesome. Shang Guanpu quickly took back the main seat and continued. The third topic is about the future planning and personnel appointments of each administrative planet. Okay, then let's start with the first topic. About the rampant pirates in recent years. If anyone has any opinions, please raise them. Shang Guanpu immediately slipped back to His Majesty's side after saying this. The main reason for the rampant pirates is that the defense of our borders is too weak. The first to speak was an executive officer of the administrative planet. Our galaxy's military capability is weak, and we can't join the alliance. The pirates are getting more and more rampant because they know this. Everyone knows that the defense is weak. This is a problem that your administrative planets have to solve. How is it a problem that our administrative planets have to solve? You big clans have so many planets under your control, so you have to contribute, right? The safety of the Nether Galaxy can't only depend on us. We don't dare, we're afraid of being plotted against. The rough Manjin, she began to speak the truth again. Chapter 1383. The meeting had just started, and everyone was already arguing with each other. The 6 major families, the administrative planets, and the royal family were all in turmoil. They were not as harmonious as they seemed on the surface. Take Mu-Yi for example. Even though the other major clans didn't like his behavior, no one dared to embarrass him during the summit. Today was a special occasion. Even though he wasn't present, there was still Shisheng pressuring him. The imperial family and the people from the administrative planet had to suffer. In any case, these people were just fighting back and forth, and there was no real reason for it. Shisheng took out a handful of sunflower seeds and looked at them arguing. This involved their own interests, so no one was willing to take a step back. Family head Shir, what do you think? Someone suddenly turned their attention to Shisheng, who was eating sunflower seeds. Shisheng continued eating sunflower seeds without changing his expression. Like your majesty, I'm here to listen. I don't have any opinions. His Majesty the lucky mascot. Family head Shir should know why we can't join the alliance, right? That person did not want to let Shisheng off. Shisheng's hand paused. He glanced at that person and said with a smile, the alliance must be crazy. Everyone. Was he shameless? How could he let the alliance take the blame for him? In terms of shamelessness, these people were definitely not as shameless as Shisheng. No matter how hard they tried, she would not be moved. There are many reasons why the pirates are rampant. It's not all because of family head Shir. Someone came out to smooth things over. What we need to discuss now is how to suppress these pirates, not who is responsible. Even if they wanted to find out who was responsible, what could they find out? Could you make that person get out of the Nether Galaxy and let them join the alliance? That's true, but what can we do now? Out of the 6 major galaxies, for we're in an alliance, and one was shamelessly strong. The Nether Galaxy was at the bottom. If the pirates did not target them, who would they target? So if you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for being too weak. Shisheng faintly interrupted. Everyone. Someone dragged this shameless person out. She spoke as if she was not from the Nether Galaxy. Family head Shir, it's easy for you to say that. I'm sitting down. Shisheng corrected him with a serious face. Cough cough. Shisheng didn't hold back since someone wanted to talk back to her. Since they didn't give her face, she wouldn't give them face either. This summit was much more interesting than before, and His Majesty was more interested in watching the show than before. As expected of the #1 boss on the galaxy's hatred list, the 12th summit wasn't something that could be completed in a day. Just discussing the issue of piracy would take several days. From the various parties raising the issue of piracy in their own areas, to the discussion, to the debate, and finally to the conclusion and conclusion. In short, it was a long process. Not to mention the changes to the interstellar law. The 6 galaxies had a common set of interstellar laws that was applicable to everyone. It was known as the Common Interstellar Law. However, each galaxy had its own interstellar law. It was an autonomous interstellar law. Just one clause of the interstellar law was enough for people to discuss. Hence, the time needed for this discussion was endless. At the end of the first day of the summit, His Majesty and Shang Guanpu immediately left. The royal family's current position was very awkward. They couldn't afford to offend the 6 big families. Family head Shir. Mui called out to Shisheng, who was about to leave. I want to talk to you. Family head Mu. I don't think we have anything to talk about. Shisheng's lips curved into a smile. Her face was bright and flamboyant, not losing out to any celebrity in the galaxy. Yet there was a hint of devilishness to it that made people feel uncomfortable. Their attention wouldn't be on her beauty, but on her evil intentions. Shisheng walked past Mui. Even if I know something, I won't tell you. The rest of the family members watched in silence. They had their own plans. Shisheng walked out of the venue. Outside, the hovercars of the various families were parked. It was quite a spectacular sight. Shifeng and the Zhanlong guards were waiting outside. When they saw her coming out, they immediately greeted her and protected her in the middle. Family head, did they embarrass you? Shisheng's tone was arrogant. Do they think they can embarrass me? Shifeng certainly understood that these people couldn't embarrass her, but this was his duty as a Zhanlong guard. Family head, do you want to go back to the hotel? No, you take them back first. You don't have to follow me. Shifeng frowned and emphasized. Family head, this is the capital star. The capital star was someone else's territory, not their blue planet. What if someone wanted to harm her? She had so many dark histories. Almost the entire galaxy, no, the entire universe was full of enemies. The people who wanted her life circled the entire galaxy several times. I know this is the capital star. I have my own plans. You can go back. Shisheng waved and added. Don't worry, I'll take Xinxing with me. Nothing will happen. Then family head, please contact me if you need anything. I know. Shifeng, I haven't seen you for 3 months. How did you become so long-winded? Shifeng wasn't so talkative before. Shifeng was silent for a moment and said in a low voice, I'm afraid. Shisheng lowered his eyes. Shifeng, don't lose your mind. I understand. Shifeng looked up and said firmly. In my heart, family head will always be my master. Nothing will change. That's good. Shisheng patted him on the shoulder. Go back. Yes. Shisheng drove off in a hovercar. Shifeng watched her car disappear before retracting his gaze. His expression was as solemn as ever, not revealing a hint of emotion, as if he was an AI program to do so. When Shisheng arrived at Frost Moon Street, he saw Ji Yi there. Just like her that day, he stood in front of the gate full of vines with his head lowered. She couldn't see his expression clearly. Perhaps sensing Shisheng approaching, he looked over slightly and said gently, Shisheng. What are you doing here? Shisheng's voice was so cold that it seemed to be frozen. Ji didn't answer. After a few seconds of silence, he said, Why did you come back? Shisheng's face was cold. Does it have anything to do with you? He sighed heavily. Don't kill for nothing. You know that we're different from others. You've killed so many people and you're not afraid of this. Even if I die and go to hell, I'll accept it. Shisheng interrupted Ji Yi. I don't need you to warn me. Ji Yi, mind your own business. It's none of your business. Shisheng, why can't you just listen to me? Shisheng listened to him with a half-smile. That smile was so sarcastic that it stabbed straight into his heart like a sharp thorn. Some images involuntarily flashed through his mind, but he managed to suppress those memories in time. His face was slightly pale, but fortunately, the light was not bright at the moment, so it covered his paleness well. Ji Yi lowered his head and walked toward Shisheng. When he brushed past him, he said softly, We don't want to repeat what happened back then. Don't go overboard. Chapter 1384. Ji Yi returned to the hotel and bumped into Patriarch Yan and his grandson, Yan Lin, at the restaurant. Patriarch Yan invited him to join them. Ji Yi couldn't refuse. After ordering, Patriarch Yan asked Ji Yi, Patriarch Ji, have you been there? Ji Yi was in low spirits. Yes, I happened to meet her. Patriarch Yan sighed. Frost Moon Street should have been demolished long ago. I heard from the members of the council that the proposal was brought up several times, but there was no result. She didn't allow it. That was why the members of the council had brought up the proposal several times, but there was no result. Because she didn't allow that place to be demolished, even if it was abandoned. Grandpa, is she really that powerful? Yan Lin asked curiously. After hearing too many rumors, it would sometimes make people suspicious. Patriarch Yan glanced at his grandson. She suppressed those old farts of the Sher family in town, and the direct descendants. Don't you think she's powerful? Yan Lin, don't underestimate her. Remember what Grandpa told you. Isn't she a direct descendant? Patriarch Yan shook his head. No. Yan Lin's eyes widened slightly. He hesitated. Then, how did she become the patriarch? Among the 6 major families, only the direct descendants could inherit the position of patriarch. In the past, there would be situations where they didn't have any heirs, but this was the interstellar era. Such a situation wouldn't happen at all. The Yen family head took a sip of tea. The fragrance of the tea lingered in his mouth. After a long while he said faintly, "You are not qualified to know these things. When you are on the same level as her, you will know everything that you should know." On equal footing? Ji Yi shook his head with a bitter smile. Only they could comfort themselves with these words. She had never intended to be on equal footing with them. Patriarch Yin changed the topic. "Why do you think she came to the capital star this time?" I asked, but she didn't say. Ji Yi paused. "I think she's not here with good intentions. We have to be vigilant. We're not the ones who should be worried. It's the group associated with the royal family." Ji Yi didn't answer Patriarch Yin, but it was a tacit agreement. The ones who should be worried were the royal family. Ji Yi and Patriarch Yin finished their meal and went upstairs. Ji Xian was already asleep. He sat by the bed and touched her forehead gently. Perhaps it was because Ji Xian had not fallen asleep yet. She opened her eyes in a daze and said softly, "Brother Yi, you're back? Did I wake you up?" Ji Yi adjusted the blanket for her. "Go to sleep." Ji Xian grabbed Ji Ye's hand. "Brother Yi, sleep with me." "Little Xian. I'm Big Brother Ye's fiancé. There's nothing wrong with sleeping with Big Brother Yi." Ji Xian's grip tightened. Her voice was very soft as she stammered out a sentence. Ji Yi was a little helpless. "Xiao Xian, we're not married yet. Be good and sleep on your own." "I'm scared." Ji Xian pulled a long face and hugged Ji Ye's waist. Ji Yi heaved a heavy sigh. Fine. I'm really scared of you." Ji Xian immediately moved inwards to make room for Ji Yi. Ji Yi hesitated for a moment and lay down beside her. Ji Xian clung to him like an octopus and leaned her head against his chest. "Brother Yi, are you unhappy?" "No. You are. I can feel it." "I'll leave if you ask me again." "I won't ask you again." Shisheng did not return that night. The next day, she went straight to the venue. The summit proceeded in an orderly manner. However, Shisheng was bored. She did not hear anything about Feng Xi from these messages. On the other hand, the various forces were fighting more and more fiercely. The administrative planet blamed the 6 major families, and the 6 major families blamed the administrative planet. There were all kinds of pushing and shoving, and it was very lively. Shisheng either came in to eat melon seeds or play games. She was comparable to His Majesty's mascot. After eating melon seeds and playing games, the group of people was still arguing. Shisheng logged into the Star Web, clicked on a web page, and skillfully logged into her account. As soon as she logged in, she was bombarded by messages from the back end. She had not had time to update since she came back. Her readers were going crazy after not updating for 3 months. They bombarded her all the time. "Boss, are you still updating? You haven't updated for 2 months. Boss, are you still alive? Boss, please update." Shisheng looked at the last update and was a little confused. She decisively logged out. It was better to deal with Feng Xi first. Her brain was not enough recently. It was not easy for the people on the other side to finish arguing. There were still those strange organizations to report, and naturally, it caused all kinds of arguments. When the summit began, Shang Guanpu's opening line changed. "Today, we will only discuss one topic. It's about how to deal with N1. Shisheng realized that the people present were a little strange. They did not start arguing after Shang Guanpu finished speaking. Instead, they were all silent. "What's N1? Shisheng turned to ask His Majesty the mascot. "You don't know?" His Majesty the mascot was very surprised. Everyone present looked over. There were many people present who did not know, but everyone was silent. Under the influence of the atmosphere, they also fell silent. "Should I know?" Shisheng was puzzled. His Majesty the mascot was a little embarrassed. Although not everyone knew about this, with the Shi family's ability, it should be impossible for them not to know. Shang Guanpu quickly smoothed things over and broke the strange atmosphere. Cough cough. We will ask the person in charge to come out and explain the specific situation in detail. Shangguan-pu left from the middle, and a woman came in from outside. She was a very beautiful woman with wavy hair. She was wearing a low-cut red tight-fitting dress. The skirt reached her thighs, revealing her slender and fair legs. Her lips were flaming red, and her every movement revealed the seductive charm of a mature woman. Hello everyone, I am Ji Na, the Deputy Director of the Space Administration. Space Administration? Wasn't this thing banned? Why did it appear again? And it even appeared at the summit. What's going on? The Space Administration is an organization that deceives people. Your Majesty, why did you let them attend the summit? The theory of the Space Administration was that there were many parallel worlds in this world. They were just a small world among the 3,000 worlds. However, when this theory was put forward, it was not accepted by everyone. Perhaps there really were parallel worlds, but the Space Administration could not prove that they could reach other parallel worlds. Since they could not reach other parallel worlds, then there was no point for them to exist. Therefore, the Space Administration was an organization that was not recognized. It was also the black organization that Shisheng said did not have a business license. In the face of everyone's doubts, Ji Na smiled and waited for them to finish arguing. Ji Na's eyes fell on Shisheng. As for whether the Space Administration is an organization that deceives people, I believe that the head of the Shi family has the most right to say. What does this have to do with the head of the Shi family? Your Majesty, are you going to let this liar do whatever she wants here? Your Majesty, drive her out. Everyone's reaction was intense. In contrast, Shisheng was very calm. He just glanced at Ji Na and said in a calm voice, "The 3,000 worlds do exist." The noisy hall suddenly quieted down, and everyone's eyes focused on Shisheng. Shisheng's mouth twitched. Don't you want to know what the Shi family's ability is? The reason why the 6 great families could stand at the top of the pyramid was that they had a long history, ancient inheritance, and mysterious power. However, very few people knew what their ability was. Shisheng looked up and scanned the crowd. The Shi family has the ability to travel to parallel worlds. Chapter 1385. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was this real? Everyone knew that the 6 families were so powerful that they must have the ability to exist. Now that everyone could fight in the universe, they had seen mysterious forces before. There were so many strange things in the universe, and they had seen so many miracles that they could still withstand this shock. Since the Shi family has this ability, are they in cahoots with the Space Administration? Shisheng sneered. I have nothing to do with them. Ji Na smiled and said, Of course. The Shi family relies on ancient inheritance, while we rely on advanced technology. There is a big difference between the two. Everyone whispered to each other. Since the Shi family has proven that they exist, what do you want to discuss with us today? Shisheng would not lie. If she dared to say it, she would definitely do it. She was not afraid of being coveted. It's about a person. Ji Na's eyes were fixed on Shisheng. Shisheng's expression was indifferent, but in her heart, she had already cursed every single member of the Space Control Department down to their ancestors several times. They were here for her. Ji Na tapped on her personal terminal a few times, and a hologram appeared in the middle. It was a room made of black materials. There were chains as thick as an arm on the ground, and all the chains were connected to a person. To be precise, it was a thin young man. His head was lowered, and his long hair completely covered his face. His clothes were stained with blood. At this moment, he looked like a lifeless broken doll that had been thrown there. He is N1. Ji Na put away the hologram. N1 is his code name. His name is Feng Xiai. Shisheng's eyes were still fixed on the hologram. She did not move her eyes away. She just stared at it. Ji Na's smile deepened, and her eyes fell on the confused people. Let me tell you something, and you may know who he is. 100 years ago, hundreds of planets at the edge of the Red Crescent system were destroyed overnight. After that, planets in other systems began to be destroyed. This incident should have left a deep impression on everyone, right? Of course. What does this have to do with him? Wasn't the murderer caught long ago and dealt with through interstellar law? Someone questioned. Basically, everyone who was over 100 years old had personally experienced that calamity. Those who hadn't experienced it had heard of it from others. So many planets were destroyed inexplicably. No matter if they were inhabited planets, energy planets, or desolate planets, none of them were spared. The culprit behind this incident was caught not long after. After interrogation, it was revealed that he had discovered a special type of energy that could make an entire planet disappear with just a small amount. At that time, everyone hated the culprit to the core. Gina lifted her seductive red lips. Do you know what that energy is? Everyone looked at each other. You don't know? Because there is no new energy source at all. The person who caused all this is N1. Everyone. What? Alone? How could one person destroy so many planets? What kind of joke was this? Even the Red Crescent Galaxy, which had the strongest military, could not completely destroy a planet in a short period of time. Gina released several holographic images to prove that what she said was true. It was the scene of a planet being destroyed. A perfectly fine planet suddenly burned in the universe, and then exploded with a boom. In the middle of the explosion, there was a young man. His back was facing them. He just stood in the universe without any help. He was wearing a retro and elegant long robe. It was white and covered with black thorny patterns. At the moment when the planet exploded, the shockwave swept over and raised the hem of his robe. Those thorns seemed to be growing out. Now, humans could travel freely in the universe, but they still had to rely on things like spaceships, starships, and mechas. No one could stand in the universe without any equipment. Oh no, there was one person who could. Shirshung. When she had fought with Red Crescent, she had destroyed one of their super mechas in the universe. It was just that no one had managed to capture any footage, so everyone felt that it was a little exaggerated. Perhaps it was the location, or perhaps it was the mecha she had used. In any case, they just did not believe that she could defeat an ultra mecha in space without any equipment. Many people doubted whether this was true or not. After watching the video, everyone fell into an eerie silence. After a while, someone broke the silence. Even if this is true, what is the purpose of your visit today? Obviously, this person had hit the nail on the head. Gina curled her red lips and said, "Today, I am here to discuss how to deal with him. The Space Administration can't do anything to him, but I know that the 6 families can. You have ancient inheritance and mysterious power." As soon as Gina finished speaking, Shirshung stood up and glanced around. "I want this person. If you have any opinions, hold them." "Master Shir, what do you mean?" Gina looked confused. "I want him." Shirshung looked straight at Gina. "You tried so hard to plot against me. Didn't you wait for me to say this?" She kicked the chair away and walked out. Her voice was so loud that everyone was startled. When she walked out of the door, everyone heard her voice. "You can hide him. If worse comes to worst, I will massacre the capital star again." Everyone was speechless. Massacre the capital star? Yixing. She's here for someone. Master Yin approached Ji Yi. "I didn't expect that she would leave the capital star for someone else and come back for someone else. It seems that a lot of things happened in those 3 months that we don't know about." Ji Yi was a little worried. "She won't massacre the capital star again, will she?" Master Yin looked at Gina, who was still smiling. "That depends on whether they will hand over the person or not." The 6 families knew each other's abilities, so they were the first group of people to trust the Space Administration. But they didn't know what they were doing. If they pushed her too far, it would be difficult to clean up the mess. "Master Yin, do you know about this N1?" He had never heard of it. After such a big thing happened, the Space Administration suppressed it. Master Yin shook his head, and seemed to know what Ji Yi was wondering. He explained, "The Space Administration has existed for a long time. There are many capable people among them, so it's not surprising that they can hide it from us. Don't underestimate the Space Administration. It's not a deceiving organization. It's very deep." Ji Yi certainly understood that, but he was still confused. They are coming for her. Why? Who knows? Master Yen smiled and patted Ji Yi on the shoulder like an elder. Master Ji, we don't need to care too much about these things. Thank you for your advice, Grandpa Yen. Ji Yi changed the way he addressed Master Yen. Master Yan's smile grew wider, and he looked like a cunning fox. Let's go. We can't continue the meeting today. They have achieved their goal. Who would dare to take her away from that person? Chapter 1386. Shisheng came out with a gloomy face and came out so early. Shifeng immediately became alert. Patriarch, what's wrong? Shisheng glanced at him and restrained the coldness on his face. Do you know where the base of the time control department is? Time control department? Shifeng was confused. Wasn't this thing called a fraud organization by outsiders? Why was the master suddenly asking about them? Although he was confused, Shifeng quickly checked his personal terminal. There's no information about them. Master, what happened? Shisheng smiled sinisterly. Tell the Zhanlong guards on the blue planet to prepare. We might be fighting soon. Shifeng. If the master mentioned fighting, then something was definitely going to happen. Ever since the master left the capital star, the only time the Zhanlong guards could fight was when the master was provoking people everywhere, and other people sent troops to pick a fight. The rest of the time, they had nothing to do. Wait here. When you see this woman, invite her here. Shisheng showed Shifeng Jina's photo. Should I invite her horizontally or vertically? Shifeng memorized Jina's face and wondered how this person offended the master. Horizontally meant that no matter what method was used, as long as he got her here. Vertically, he had to be more polite. Generally speaking, the master liked to invite people horizontally. Very few people could be invited vertically. Whatever. Shifeng understood that it wasn't important. It was fine as long as she was alive. When the master didn't want her alive, he usually said to get rid of her. It was very much like a mafia boss. However, they were a proper family, not a mafia. Although the Shi family was outside, they were no different from a mafia. Shifeng waited outside the venue. The people inside came out one by one. Jina was a little behind and was talking to Shangguan Pu. They seemed to be having a good conversation. When Jina saw Shifeng, she immediately stopped talking. The master of the Shi family sent someone to wait for me. Third prince, you don't have to send me off. You really want to go? Shangguan Pu glanced at Shifeng and the corner of his mouth twitched. Shifeng was actually waiting for her personally. It's my duty. Jina smiled. Thank you for your concern. Be careful. Shangguan Pu wanted to say something but stopped. In the end, Jina left first. He watched Jina follow Shifeng into the floating car. His expression changed. Finally, he sighed and caught up with the royal team. Jina had been very calm the entire time. She didn't oppose Shifeng's arrangements and statements. She listened to everything he said, which surprised Shifeng. This was too cooperative. However, Shisheng had no intention of seeing her. He let her stay in the hotel alone, and even sent someone to watch over her. Other than forbidding her from going out, he did not restrict her from doing anything else. At first, Jina didn't seem to be in a hurry, but later, she became a little restless. Where is your family leader? Jina didn't know how many times she had asked. Shifeng's answer was as concise as ever. Master is busy. What is she busy with? Shifeng's face was stern. We have no right to ask about the patriarch's matters. Jina glanced at him. This man had been with her for the longest time, and he was the person she trusted the most. It was impossible to get any breakthrough from him. Jina went back to her room and walked up and down. Ding! The personal terminal on Jina's wrist flashed, and a black screen was projected in the air. She couldn't see anything. She doesn't want to see me. Wait patiently. She will see you. In the darkness, a clear male voice sounded. When dealing with her, no matter what she says, don't panic. Most of the time, she's just guessing. As long as you remember this, you won't be at a disadvantage. She guesses too accurately. The corner of Jina's mouth twitched. She is very observant. She can speculate from your subtle reactions. Sometimes, you might not think much of an unintentional sentence, but she can get the information she wants from it. Gina, answer whatever she asks. Don't mention anything that has nothing to do with our purpose. Gina took a deep breath. Yes. The black screen disappeared, and the room became quiet again. Gina collapsed on the sofa, looking tired. This job was not easy. After Gina had been worried for a few days, Shifeng finally called her and told her that she could go see Shisheng. Gina changed into a fiery red tight dress and stood at the door for a few minutes. Then she pushed the door open and followed Shifeng upstairs. It was very quiet on the top floor. The Zhanlong guard stood in the corridor like statues, standing still. Miss Gina, master is waiting for you inside. Shifeng only took her to the door, opened it, and gestured for her to go in. Gina calmed herself down and entered the room. The room was very big. She looked around and saw someone in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. She walked around the sofa and stood behind her. Master Shi, it is more difficult to see you than to see His Majesty. The girl stood with her hands behind her back. She was wearing casual clothes, and her hair was tied up casually. She looked like she had just gotten up and exercised. She didn't look back. She just said calmly, "Otherwise, how can I be worthy of your efforts?" Gina smiled. Although the people in front of her couldn't see her, she had to be in her best state. Master Shi, let's not beat around the bush. I think you already know why I am here. Shisheng suddenly turned around. The girl smiled, and her clear voice sounded in the room. Don't worry. Let's talk about something else. Gina. What kind of development is this? It's different from what I thought. Calm down. Master Shi, what do you want to talk about? Shisheng's fingers moved in the air, and a holographic image suddenly appeared. Let's talk about your sister, Ji Wei. Gina's whole body tensed up. Her eyes fell on the holographic image. She was a little stiff, and her heart was beating fast. No, Gina quickly calmed down. Master Shi, I'm afraid you are mistaken. I don't have a sister, and I don't have any family. Shisheng narrowed his eyes as if he didn't hear her. Do you see what your sister is holding? Gina looked over subconsciously. The girl in the image was holding a toy. Her pale face was full of smiles, and she seemed to be very happy. From the angle of the image, Gina could see the Zhanlong guards standing outside the ward. No one except the Zhanlong guards dared to use the golden dragon pattern. She hadn't seen her for so long, and she was looking for her weakness. If you don't answer my question properly, your sister, I'm afraid you will be separated from her forever. Shisheng's voice sounded. It was a very pleasant voice, but it sounded so gloomy in Gina's ears. She is still a child. Gina found her voice after a long time. So what? Shisheng tilted his head, and the smile on the corner of his mouth deepened. You have what I want, and you want to threaten me. Now I am using her as a bargaining chip. There is nothing wrong with that. We are all the same. Don't talk to me about humanity and conscience. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.